What is going on, full-time family? We are live. We got no songs today. Getting straight to business. I'm running a little late, got a haircut and stuff. Had to, get ready for the stream. So, with that being said, we got a lot to talk about, man. UFC 239 just happened over the weekend. Of course, I mean, the only fight that I care about just afterwards, after the fact, motherfucking Jorge Masvidal, my favorite fighter of all time. I mean, he's always been one of my favorite fighters of all time, but after last night, it's not close. I don't care about the shiny gold belts and the politics that comes with becoming a champion in the UFC. I know a real fighter. I know the history, and I know Jorge Masvidal has one of the best stories inside, outside the octagon. I mean, however you want to slice it up, is my favorite fighter of all time, and it was just MMA justice over the weekend, in my opinion. Ben Askren, I've been saying this. I'll keep saying it, and yeah, it looks like hindsight's 2020. But this is my opinion of Ben Askren: one-dimensional, overrated, and privileged. A lot of people hear that word privilege and they automatically jump to privileged. Does that mean white privilege? Does that mean race baiting? No, you took that leap yourself. I mean privileged as far as his UFC career. I mean, privileged as far as his first fight in the UFC, he gets to fight a ranked opponent and he almost loses, and he isn't forced to get the rematch. A lot of people, the fans, wanted to see the rematch. We didn't get it. So it seemed Robbie Lawler is not a great matchup for Ben Askren, because the best matchups for Ben Askren are going to be wrestlers. They're going to be guys, or he's a wrestler. So the best matchup for Ben Askren are going to be strikers. I mean, as we see Khabib maul these strikers over and over, it's part of the appeal of the Tony Ferguson match. It's part of the appeal of Khabib. This is why Justin Gaethje feels like he could be a answer to Khabib, because whenever I look at Justin Gaethje, he reminds me more of Robbie Lawler. He's got solid wrestling, but he also has power. And so that solid wrestling makes it a difficult matchup for wrestlers, especially if you're one-dimensional, which Ben Askren is. So on the feet, Robbie Lawler's going to knock your block off. He also slammed him down. But vice versa, when you go look at a guy like Jorge Masvidal, he's a lot more similar to the Dustin Poiriers and the guys that Khabib has fought recently that are really a majority of strikers. Alaya Quinta, you know, they're not really um, known for their jiu-jitsu or the wrestling. And Jorge Masvidal, not only is he more of a striker, but he also came up from 155 pounds. So Ben Askren goes from getting this matchup with Robbie Lawler that was controversial as hell to getting a favorable matchup with Jorge Masvidal, who's one of my favorite fighters of all time. So that whole matchmaking put me in a sour mood. I was pessimistic about it, and clearly I shouldn't have been, because we do know this. Anything can happen. But the higher likeliness was that Jorge Masvidal got held down and wrestle fucked in that fight. And if you listen to my video before the fights, I literally said I was pessimistic, and I said it's going to take Masvidal to pull off a miracle in this one. And he got the fastest knockout in UFC history. I don't know if that qualifies as a miracle. He didn't even have to experience the wrestling, but we will take it. So that is one of my biggest takeaways and one of my favorite moments of the weekend. But also, Jon Jones, though, he fought to a split decision with a one-legged middleweight. And I also, before the fight, said, not my GOAT, man. And it was before the Santos split decision. A lot of people feel like Santos got robbed on one leg. A lot of people feel like Thiago Santos got robbed on one leg against the GOAT. Wink, wink. Minus the picograms, minus the snitching, minus the what it eye pokes, minus all the, I mean, criticisms you could have of Jon Jones. He's also fighting to split decisions with blown up middleweights. So I don't know. I think Jon Jones's time may be coming soon, and I think he knows that. And I think this fight explains why Jon Jones did not want to go to heavyweight. I think this fight shows why he was ducking the heavyweight fade. Because if you're fighting to split decisions with Thiago Santos on one leg, you really don't want smoke with Daniel Cormier at heavyweight. You're going to have to fight Daniel Cormier when he sucks down and he's depleted from the weight cut. But you don't want, he's admitted to not wanting to fight a heavyweight. But with that, all that being said, guys, this is a panel. This isn't just me talking. So without further ado, Dennis Espinoza hopped on before we went live. I posted the link in the Discord. If you want to hop on and give your thoughts for today, talking about the fights this weekend, any upcoming fights, make sure you join the Discord. Link is in the description, and that is where I'm posting the link to the Hangout. So anybody that wants to join the Hangout today, the link will be in the Discord. With that being said, I'm going to unmute the panel. What is going on, Dennis Espinoza?
Just a relaxing Sunday evening.
All right, well that's good to hear. So I'll just get right to it, Dennis Espinoza, man. Good. Thank you for coming on the panel. But what was your biggest takeaway from this weekend?
Let's see, that's sort of an interesting question. Probably the fight I enjoyed the most was Rockhold getting nailed. A lot of people thought he was going to win. I pretty much figured Jan would take him. And so that was a pretty interesting fight. That and the Vera fight, Vera coming back. After
Yeah,
like
man.
a real surprised.
Yeah, Jan Blachowicz, he not too long ago, I think it was Nikita Krylov he fought, and I picked against Jan in that fight as well, because I think it was his fight against David Branch, Jan Blachowicz's fight that is. And when I seen his fight against David Branch, I think it was when David Branch was making his debut coming over from the World Series of Fighting. I mean, for one, Jan Blachowicz didn't have much of a storied history in the UFC at that time, and he hadn't really been fighting the top contenders of the light heavyweight division yet. So, whenever he fought David Branch, I wasn't super impressed, and that's kind of why I picked against him whenever he fought Nikita Krylov. But he came out there and beat Nikita Krylov. He did the same thing with Luke Rockhold, who this was supposed to be Luke Rockhold's like career revival essentially, because he's fighting at middleweight, former champion at middleweight, but he gets knocked out. And so what a lot of fighters do is they start moving weight classes, and it's sort of a fresh start. Like, oh, the weight cut was killing me. I'm going to look much better at this new weight class. And so this was Luke Rockhold's opportunity for a fresh start. And if he won this fight, he had a lot of opportunities ahead of him. I mean, not only was there talks of him trying to avenge Daniel Cormier's loss and moving up and fighting Jon Jones, which would have actually had a little bit of a story to it, rather than a lot of these other guys in middleweights like Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos. A lot of these guys are just coming up from middleweight and just making it to Jon Jones in 2 fights and then losing. Luke Rockhold actually had a little bit of a story to it. He's a former champion. And not only the Jon Jones fight, if he could have won this fight, man, a lot of people would have loved to see him fight Chris Weidman, I think. And maybe they still will, but fight at 205. But yeah, I don't know what's next for Luke Rockhold, man. A lot of people might. I've seen people talking about it. Maybe it's time for Luke Rockhold to retire. I mean, it's not like I don't think he's a guy that needs to fight like some of these other guys. Maybe we know he does have some opportunities outside of the cage, modeling and etc. But yeah, man, that fight was crazy. The whole this weekend, I think, was crazier than I even expected it would be.
Yeah, he actually hit Jan. It didn't phase Jan much at all. It looked like a couple of times that he might rally a little bit, but Jan was unmoved. I think he should call it a day. Myself, he's been, he had his 15 minutes of fame. I don't believe he's going to climb back up into anything higher really now. So if I were him, I would just hang it up.
Yeah, and one thing about that fight that I'm remembering is just the way he kept his hands down throughout the fight. Like, I was watching the fight, we were in the voice chat on the Discord, and I was just screaming like, why? He already got clipped once or twice. Like, why are your hands still down? Put your hands up. Like, he was just keeping his guard so low, and his chin is already a little suspect. We've seen him rocked. We've seen him knocked out by Bisping, rocked by Branch. So to already have a little bit of a suspect chin, and then to come in there and keep your guard down, keep your hands low. I mean, I think the way it played out is how it was supposed to play out. And he trains with AKA, so I'm extremely surprised that. And he not just AKA, he's moved down to Miami, I believe. He's trained with, he moves from AKA when the guys aren't healthy there. He goes and trains with the Black Zillions. So he moves around and trains with the best fighters in the world. And I'm just for that to be the case, and for him to keep his hands down and his guard down so much, it kind of baffles me.
Well, that goes hand in hand with the comments you're making on Discord of his sort of cockiness and arrogance.
Yeah.
I think it goes hand in hand with that. I want to say too, appreciate your knowledge of history behind the fighters. That always makes things more interesting.
Yeah, man. And who opened up the card? It wasn't Gadea and Marcos, was it? Did they open up the pay-per-view? I think they might have. I'm pretty sure they were on the pay-per-view.
Might check 1 2. Might check 1
Might
2.
check 1 2. Forward in the building. What's going on, Forward?
Hey, what's good? Hey, first and foremost, obviously appreciate the invite to come back onto the best MMA channel on YouTube. Don't know already. They opened up the card for the main card was Diego Sanchez versus Michael Chiesa.
Okay. Whew. Okay, so Gadea
But
versus
yeah.
Marcos, they were on the prelims then, right?
But yeah, quick disclaimer, I just want to get it out there. Obviously, I'm a big fan of what you do full time, being out here since day one pretty much. Obviously, respect all your views. I feel like we're going to get into a couple arguments here or a couple heated debates, I should rather say. So, yeah, I'm ready for this. Let's go.
I think, we might be heated debates. I think it's going to be more so me educating you and you kind of sticking to your guns, but we'll see.
I mean,
how
that's
it goes.
your opinion, but hey,
I know.
I like your energy. So let's keep that same energy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can't wait. All right. So Forward, I'm also going to ask you one of the first questions. What was your big takeaway from the weekend? What was your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway, I mean, first and foremost, I've got to say, like, just seeing Rockhold get knocked out it's just a beautiful thing to see, man, honestly. But my biggest takeaway was probably the 3-piece on a coma because, like, come on, like,
I think Stamina said knee piece in a coma.
Trust, I mean, that was wild, man. I mean, that was the fight everybody was probably most anticipating on this fight card. I mean, it was probably the most competitive, obviously a clash of styles, and obviously with the trash talk going into it, there was a lot of like anticipation what was going to happen. And man, I mean, once Masvidal had his hands behind his back, I was like, oh shit, it's about to go down. And boy, Askren went down with a quickness. That was ridiculous, that knee. I mean, I was even talking about it with a couple friends of mine. I think, and that's like the most buzzing I felt off a KO, like even to now, maybe since the Ngannou over in KO, like it was just an unreal KO, man.
I can't
Happened
believe it
that
broke
quickly
the record.
I know it was just a man. I mean, honestly, it was a 3-second KO. Like if the referee wasn't so far away, he would have like saved Askren a couple more punches. So yeah, that was wild, man. It was a great night of fights, and yeah, that was the icing on the cake.
Not only did he break the record, but also it's because that was my answer as well. The Jorge Masvidal's KO, and it's crazy. Like, and I'm sure we're not the only two that feel that way. For Jon Jones to be fighting, for Amanda Nunez to 100% establish herself as the female GOAT. No ifs, ands, or buts. Jon Jones fought to a split decision, and still Masvidal takes the shine. That's pretty big. Salute to No Filter MMA, Stamina MC joining the panel. We got a show, guys. We're gonna have a good one.
What's up, man?
Let's get it.
What's up, but hey, I don't think it was. I don't think that Amanda beating Holly. I don't feel like Amanda needed to beat Holly to be established as the GOAT. I feel like she was already established. A win over Holly is not. A win over Holly is not really submitting anything.
Okay, now that's going to be a debate we have. That's going to be one of the freaking debates we have because we're going to talk about whether or not Holly Holm is great because a lot of people confuse the word great with GOAT. And, you even if you're not one of the greatest fighters of all time, you can still be great, in my opinion, but that's going to be a topic for later. So, BJ, it's interesting you say that because I do actually agree. I do think Nunez cemented herself as the GOAT and pound for pound #1 when she knocked out Cyborg. I just say that because I felt like Holly Holm was the last champion and the last head on the dragon to slay per se. And so now I don't even see anybody with a puncher's chance of beating Nunez anytime soon, except for Chris Cyborg, which is why I think she actually came out of this weekend. Her Cyborg stock went up actually because now there's no other fight in the UFC for Nunez that is relatively competitive.
I mean, there is fights, but it's not fights that the UFC's willing to make.
That are competitive with Nunez.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, dude, you got Ketlen Vieira. You got Ketlen Vieira, who's the deserving #1 contender. That'll be a very competitive fight, dude. And also you have, if Jermaine Durandame beats Aspen Ladd. I mean, Aspen Ladd's not much of a fight for Amanda Nunez, but Jermaine Durandame is, even though it would be a rematch, you know what I'm saying? But it will still be a competitive fight. It's just that they're not giving people, how long has Ketlin Vieira been waiting on to fight? Ever since she beat Kat Zingano, man, that's a long time.
Okay, so I'll ask you this. So I guess it's not even much of a question. I was gonna say, so do you think GDR or Vieira would put up a better fight than Cyborg, or Holly Holm? But I guess they didn't get to put up much of a fight, so that's almost default unless they get knocked out in under a minute. But I still don't think those are even. Yeah, I do agree Vieira is the rightful number one contender, but I think it's by default. I don't think it's because she's going to be a competitive fight. I think it's the same reason all these middleweights are fighting Jon Jones. It's not because they're probably going to beat him. It's just because by default they're the number one contender. They beat a couple high-ranked fighters and now they're getting a title shot. Caitlin Vieira, I don't think she has any sort of legacy, even big wins that even give you the. She hasn't even been dominant like Tatiana Suarez has through all of her fights, in the sense that I don't think Caitlin Vieira has ever given me a sense of she might have a chance against Amanda Nunez. There's nothing I've seen from Caitlin Vieira that said, oh, she might be the one. I think if she fights Amanda Nunez, she's going to be a huge underdog, rightfully so.
Well, I mean, I think that's pretty much anybody. Anybody's right now is going to be an underdog to Amanda Nunez.
A huge underdog. I'm saying more than Holly Holm. That was my argument. I just think Holly Holm was the closest chance of anyone to beat her. I don't think Vieira is going to do it, or GDR even.
Well, you have now you have Juliana Pena coming back to the bantamweight division. Now you got people coming up. Like I said, Aspen Ladd, I don't think it will be much of a. I don't think it'd be hard for Amanda Nunez to beat Aspen Ladd, but
who is Aspen Ladd? Oh, you're talking about Arya Stark. Okay.
Right. I just feel like we will see a pretty. I feel like in the next 6 months we'll have a clear cut contender on who should fight Amanda Nunez next.
And I think it'll be a situation where it's by default. I don't. Like let's say Caitlin Vieira fights the winner of GDR and Ladd. They for sure deserve the title shot, but I don't think that means they're going to beat Nunez.
True, I feel you.
Now, okay, I want to say this. I want to let everybody speak, but just real quick on sticking on WMMA and Amanda Nunez. What do you think Amanda Nunez should do next, as far as which belt should she defend? Because she just defended the bantamweight title, but the featherweight division is in limbo. So I mean, it's kind of a hard question to answer. But I think it's interesting because now I have no clue. I mean, Felicia Spencer, I don't think she's beating Chris Cyborg, but of course, if Felicia Spencer beats Cyborg, we would have the answer to that. But all right, so I'll move to Stamina MC. I want to ask you the same question that I've asked everybody, and BJ, I want to get the same answer from you. Stamina MC, though, I'll go to you. What's your biggest takeaway from UFC 239? What was your favorite moment, biggest takeaway?
I think it's the Masvidal thing. Same as most people. I think it is the Masvidal thing because you guys can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Oh yeah, of all the possible outcomes, not many people expected that, specifically that.
Oh no, I don't think one person expected that.
Yeah, you didn't expect that from those two competitors. You don't really expect to see that particularly many times on any given fight card, on any given weekend. You just don't see that many things in any calendar year, you know what I mean? So it's hard for that not to be the most memorable thing and the most take-home thing because it's just so outlandish. How many rear naked chokes do you see on any given night? How many arm bars do you see? Flying knee knockouts in under fucking 10 seconds of round number one.
I mean, it was a record.
A record-breaking knockout on the main card of a fight. You just don't see that often. So just by the law of averages, that has to be the take home. It just has to be because you just don't see that shit very often.
How much momentum does this guy have right now, coming off of the 3-piece Minnesota into a world record?
Yeah, and knocking out Till as well.
Oh, in his own backyard. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
two
God.
highlight reel knockouts in the same fucking calendar year.
Get this man a
Yeah.
title shot.
Like, you just don't see that shit very often. There's a kind of a momentum there that, in this era where guys are trying their hardest to get their social media game on point and to talk all manner of shit and be disrespectful and whatever else. The way in which Masvidal has just come up with this purely organic way of endearing himself with the fans, an organic and authentic way, because he's not actually trying to do anything. He's just being himself. So the way in which he's
100%.
managed to do all of that in half a fucking year is fantastic.
Like, he can literally
Absolutely
look back on
fantastic.
everything he's done and not feel like he's sold out. Like,
No
like
regrets,
everything he's
none.
looked back on, he can be proud of. Like, I didn't do anything out of
100.
my character, and
Yep.
here he is.
Yep. He ain't new to this, he's true to this.
Yeah, man. And I'll ask the same question to you, No Filter MMA. Your biggest takeaway from the card?
Well, I'll give you my peak and my valley. I mean, the peak of this fight card for me was
Ain't no valley. My bad. My bad.
It was seeing Amanda Nunez to see Holly Holm finally. I feel like this Holly loss really let everybody know, okay, Holly is not some world. Like, she's not some GOAT. She's not in the conversation. Like, let's just take her out of the conversation. I think this took her out of the conversation. She got beat by her own trick.
Of GOAT. Yeah, the head kick. And
yeah,
she got
so,
beat. Man, she got
I feel like the
kicked.
head kick is what made Holly famous, and it's also what killed Holly.
Full circle. Holy smokes.
But also, I feel like Thiago Santos won that fight. I mean, I feel like he won that fight, man. I feel like, he landed the more clean, effective strikes. You know what I'm saying? I feel like his shots meant more than Jon Jones's. Jon Jones picked it up in the later rounds with the leg kicks, but I feel like Thiago Santos won that fight. Now, they may have it may have been so close that they went to a secondary judging, which is like, octagon control, stuff like that. That may have won them the fight, but as far as what we saw standing on the feet, man, I feel like Thiago Santos won that, man.
Man, it was crazy how he was injured all the way throughout the fight.
Yeah.
Like, just not only did he continue to make it to a split decision with the greatest fighter of all time, but he was throwing that thing like a damn baseball bat at Jon Jones's head, body, legs, getting his kicks checked. Holy snaps! Thiago Santos is. I mean, it sucks because I do understand why people might feel it's a robbery, but I really think, it reminds me of Jones versus Gustafsson. I think a lot of people felt like Gustafsson won that fight. And, I think champions get the benefit of the doubt a lot of the time, except for if you're Tyron Woodley. If you were Tyron Woodley, they would have probably made that a split decision, but Jon Jones gets the benefit of the doubt there a little bit. But, man, Thiago Santos, nothing but, I think his stock still rose. I mean, I don't know what's next for him, but it'll be interesting to see what's next for Thiago Santos as well, coming off of that split decision with Jon Jones, because I mean, everything this weekend, like I just couldn't have expected it. Like, we all knew it was a great card, but Masvidal setting records, Rockhold getting knocked out, Amanda Nunez head kicking Holly, Thiago Santos split decision with Jon Jones, and then, of course, Michael Chiesa and Diego Sanchez. Diego Sanchez had one corner man. That was kind of discerning. Like, it was just not fun to watch. Like, he's in there with one corner man, and the corner man, like, I remember in the first corner break was like, Diego was like, did I win the round? Because the corner man was silent for a second. Like, he didn't even know what to say. So that was kind of awkward. But the rest of the card was insane. So with that being said, man, I think it's time to get into some of these debates, and these could get heated,
we got one more guest in the building.
Oh, we do? Did somebody else join?
We got a 305er as well. Oh, hold up.
We got Christian in here. I know his biggest takeaway, but I still need to hear it because this man is also a fan of greatness. So I got to hear it, Christian. What was your biggest takeaway from UFC 239 this weekend? Bless
Oh
us
my,
with your
yo, can you hear
opinion.
me?
Yes,
Can you hear
sir.
me? All right. Oh my god. Oh my god. Listen, we all knew. First of all, for everybody that's listening, everybody that's watching, your boy's from Miami-Dade County. I'm literally in the 305, born and raised. So I'm not even gonna get into George just yet. I'm gonna talk about this whole entire card. Let's just take a step back and appreciate what we saw last night. It is so like I going into this ESPN pay-per-view deal. Do you remember like last year we were kind of like, damn, these cards are kind of not like, I don't know, like it's too many cards, it's oversaturated. But man, like, is it me or are these cards just good as hell? Like top to bottom. I mean, last night was amazing, but like these UFC, I think we've been being spoiled. Um, but my God, what an event last night! What an event, top to bottom. I mean, starting it all off, you have Diego Sanchez and Michael Chiesa. Fuck, man, it broke my heart. That broke my heart, man. I've been a Diego Sanchez fan since day one. Um, that fight between him and Clay Guida, that is one of my most cherished memories in my entire life. I got to share that with my uncle. Um, and just so many moments Diego Sanchez has been there. And like to see what we saw last night, man, that shit broke my heart. But the whole card in general, Luke Rockhold. Let me ask you a question. How is it possible that you think it's a good idea to get knocked out by guys 15 pounds lighter than the weight class you move up to and think you're not going to get knocked out there too with guys that are 15 pounds heavier than what you're accustomed to? Like I didn't understand that call by Luke. Then he goes and puts on 50, 60 pounds worth of muscle and he's slower. How is that possible?
I don't think he was slower. I just feel like he got. I just feel like he got a little relaxed in the fight. Luke Rockhold looked fucking amazing at
He looked
205.
huge.
He looks good at 205. I just feel like
Pause.
No
he has
pause. He
he
looked
has
good.
he has a
Literal.
no homo, no homo,
No
no
homo.
homo, no homo.
But
No,
he
no,
looked
I'm joking with you, bro.
100%. He looked better. But it's like somebody we've seen Rumble each and every single weight class he goes up looks perfectly fine. Settled in at 205. I mean, now he's settling in at super heavyweight. Did you guys see the pictures of Rumble today? Weighing in at a slim 280 pounds. I'm just saying, like Rumble carried his strengths with him up. I didn't see any of Luke's strengths. I mean, this is Luke Rockhold that those question mark kicks would fire off at 185. His striking would look good at 185, and then I didn't see that from Jan Blachowicz, like versus Jan Blachowicz last night. I saw a bigger Luke Rockhold, but I also saw a little bit slower Luke
I
Rockhold.
feel like Luke Rockhold has bad tendencies. He has bad tendencies to try
To keep his hands down, but no, real quick. I just
like
wanted to say something real fast, no filter. I wanted to say because he asked why did Luke Rockhold think this, and before we continue, and I lose my thought because he's gonna break down the whole card. This is what I think it is. I mean, you see guys like Anthony Smith, you see guys like Thiago Santos moving up weight classes. You see his teammates moving up weight classes, having success. DC, and one of the whole narratives, from AKA has been, Luke Rockhold should have been fighting at 205. Daniel Cormier should have been fighting at heavyweight. But they all were sacrificing for their teammates. They all were making those big weight cuts so they didn't step on each other's toes. And so once Cain Velasquez was out the picture, DC moved up to heavyweight. That opened the door for Rockhold to fight at what he called his natural weight class, where he didn't have to suffer. And so not only that on top of all these other middleweights moving up, I think that kind of is probably where his mindset came in. Like, well, he took a couple bad losses at middleweight. Let me get a fresh start at light heavyweight.
I hear what you're saying, and the logic of it makes perfect sense. But I just didn't see Luke's his strengths carrying moving up. I mean, fair, you know, fair be like to be fair to Luke, we only saw maybe we saw a round. I don't count what we saw in the second round. Like an accurate representation of Luke Rockhold at the light heavyweight. Reason being, he was compromised. That head kick will 100% put Luke on
At
queer
the
street
bell.
and at the bell. And if you ask me, the fight was quote unquote over at that moment. Um, so but what we saw in the first round, I don't know, man. Like I just didn't see Luke's strengths moving up. Similar to Conor, when Conor went up to 170, we didn't see the 155, the 145 Conor, you know, less compromised now at 170. I saw a slower Conor. I did, a heavier Conor. Not like, Anthony Pettis, Michael Chiesa. Michael Chiesa looks even better at 170. So the logic behind not stepping on anybody's toes and moving up to actually not diminish yourself. In Luke's case, I'm not sure, man. But then again,
Well, no, that's just the logic. I'm not saying it was
yeah,
right, but I could just see
yeah,
why he
yeah,
made the decision.
yeah. No. I think we all can agree on the logic. But only Luke can know for sure if it actually
Yeah,
is gonna
if he
work
wants
out.
to continue to do that.
If
Luke
at
just has
fighting
he
all
has bad
together.
tendencies, man. He just has real bad tendencies. Like when he's exiting out, like let's say they come in and exchange, and on the exit he drops his hands, and
Exactly.
when someone moves forward on Luke Rocco, when he backs up, he drops his hands. Just like that's how Michael Bisping called him because he dropped his hands. And I'm like, man,
Bisping did
like
Oh, speaking of Bisping, right before the fight, did you guys see Bisping tell Jan to like conceive, believe, and achieve?
no, he did not.
Yeah, he said
Oh,
conceive, believe, achieve, Jan.
Hey.
that's my boy. But I'm gonna have to no filter. I'm gonna have to correct you. Michael Bisping didn't knock out Luke Rockhold. It was left hook Larry that knocked out
Let's
Luke Rockhold.
go. Yes.
Oh, left hook Larry, let's go.
So, I mean, but yeah, I mean, wasn't it a left? Maybe not a left hook, but wasn't it a punch from the left that caught Luke?
Yeah.
That got Luke got caught with by Yoel? No, it was a right.
No, that was a left hand over the top from Yoel. So all the three
There you
strikes he's
go,
been knocked
three
out
punch.
with, all been left hands.
There you go, there you go. So, um, moving on, Amanda. Amanda's a goat. I'm not hearing anything of it. I don't even want to entertain a discussion of it. Amanda's a goat. Holly Holm on the Discord. There was talks about Holly Holm
Great.
not being great. I'm gonna have to go with it. I'm gonna have to go with it.
We're gonna talk about that.
She had a great moment. Jon Jones. I think Jon Jones is too. First of all, like all the superlatives to Jon Jones. I know I said that word wrong, but all the adjectives for Jon Jones. The man's amazing, but the dude is too goddamn stubborn for his own good. He could have had that fight. He could have lost that fight. I mean, a judge said he lost that fight. But because he's so goddamn stubborn, he said, I will strike with Thiago Santos. Forget taking him down. Forget taking him down. I am going to strike with Thiago Santos come hell or high water. And credit to him, he got the job done. But goddamn, you're a wild man. That's
My
a
thing is,
risky move.
yeah, my thing is, once he's on one leg, all right, bro. Like you're not striking with Thiago Santos, so you don't have to avoid wrestling like the whole fight. Like once you know Thiago Santos is clearly compromised, like what are you proving by standing with him? In the fourth and the fifth round, like he's
He's
been
too
compromised.
stubborn.
You haven't been able to do anything with this one-legged Thiago Santos for 3 rounds. And if you knock him out in the fourth and the fifth round, I guess 25 years from now it'll look better on the record books. But I mean, it's not like you're showing anybody who thought you couldn't strike with Thiago Santos. Oh, I beat him. I outstruck him.
Yeah, I know.
I felt like I would have respected Jon Jones more if he would have shot for a takedown and won a I mean, because he could have won a unanimous decision, like in the 4th and the 5th rounds when Thiago
Yep.
Santos. I almost would respect, because instead he had to resort to kicking his injured leg. Still can't get the finish.
Yeah. I mean, that's just goddamn stubbornness by Jon Jones. But I mean, then again, that's what makes him great. You know, this is what he's made of. It's always made him great. Taking your strength and converting it into his strength and beating you with that strength. So, I was having a conversation with somebody on Twitter, and they were asking me about the fight, and they're like, "Oh, when do you think you're gonna rematch?" I'm like, "Who knows?" But I can tell you one thing: the next time Jon Jones and Thiago Santos fights, Jon Jones is gonna finish that man. That guy is nobody's better than.
Oof.
I
Thank you.
think so, man. I
Jon Jones was closer to being finished in that fight than Thiago was.
I agree. But I'll ask you this: have we seen anybody better in a rematch in identifying a weakness that they had in the first fight, that in
McGregor,
the
maybe?
rematch that closes all those windows and shore up all those holes? I mean, if we have,
No,
then
it's Jon Jones for sure.
it's Jon Jones. So that's the only reason why I play that hand, that Jon is going to close the holes and
Thiago
finish
Santos done earned
Thiago's.
a rematch.
Absolutely. I mean, he beat him according to one of the judge.
Yeah.
If 3 people saw that fight, one guy left, and said Thiago Santos won that fight. So, I mean, that's what the judges said. And then I guess finishing it up, Jorge Masvidal. Guys, a little backstory. I've known about this man going back. Every time he talks about, oh, I started off training at an MMA gym where I met Kimbo. That's Freestyle Fight Academy. If you remember Freestyle Fight Academy, one of the owners, it's owned by 2 brothers. One of the owners fought Toquinho, Husama Parharis, and he tore up his leg in Abu Dhabi. And they had a video about him. They said something about him being mentally challenged. I was supposed to train at that gym there, and I knew about George going back in the days. I mean, shit, we're talking about 2005, 2007, 2007, 2008. That's when I really started. But anyway, I've been a fan of the man going back to those days. The way that this guy dismantled Ben Askren, I mean, he fills up my heart with so much pride. Like I've been such a fan of the sport, and to have somebody that that reps the city of Miami more, like George, like Kimbo did. I mean, like Yoel does. Man, it fills me up with pride. This dude, we, you know what? Like I think people are a little bit hit late to the game with George because of his record, because he had
Facts.
so many. I mean,
Split decision
split
robberies.
decisions that were robberies. I mean, you add 2 or 3 decisions on there that go his way, where think he might have a different conversation than what we're having today as far as his overall career. But this is a guy that has been in the limelight, has been a feature of the game for so long. I mean, from the plus side and the negative side, do you guys remember the first reverse triangle that won submission of the year, like back in 2010 or
Yep.
11 or something like that? That was on George. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Bodog fights. I remember watching Bodog fights on UPN on channel 33. I remember watching Bodog fights, and George was on those cards. So, like, man, oh my god, I can't tell, like, this guy. I don't know what's gonna happen versus
Usman.
Kamaru. I don't know what's gonna
Yep.
happen in a fight versus Colby, in a fight versus, I mean, what is it? Is Usman? We don't know who Usman's fighting next, but it's between Colby and
I think Colby's fighting Lawler next, and so
yeah,
it should be
Colby and
Masvidal.
Lawler. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen or who's gonna hold the belt when it's all said and done this time next year. Let's say, but
Masvidal should fight Woodley.
yeah, I mean, you can make who should he not fight? He can
No,
fight
Masvidal,
anybody
in my opinion, I think Masvidal title shot. You can fight Woodley after that, all that.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about momentum, if you want to talk about paid dues, if you want to talk about anything, Masvidal title shot. I really don't even want to hear. I mean, Woodley would be a good, on paper, it makes sense, but no, title shot in my opinion.
No, for me, he's got, at a bare minimum, he's got to fight for a piece of the world title. Like, if you look at his last 3-4 years, the only convincing loss he's had is against Wonderboy. Other than that, it's all split decisions. The Maya fight, I scored that for Masvidal. So, given his body of work and then his comeback, the two impressive victories that he's had. If anything, you want to say three with the 3-piece and the sorry he gave to Leon Edwards. Like, this guy's on a roll. So, with the fanfare that he's got, like the fan attraction that he's been getting, there's no reason why he shouldn't fight for the title. And it wouldn't be an amazing pay-per-view headliner for him to fight against Usman, or if not Usman, if he's still out with the injury, then hey, put him against Colby for the interim title, because they will fight for a title if it comes to it. Yeah, they're boys, but when it comes to a title, Masvidal's already expressed his feelings. He will definitely fight his boy for a title. So if it's not him, then maybe I don't know, Woodley for interim title. But at the end of the day, he's got to fight for a piece of that world title, 100%.
I agree. I mean, it sucks that Kamaru is out with an injury. The thing that definitely concerns me in all this is the timing of it all. I think George. It would benefit him to jump right in there right away, maybe after a month or two or whatever. But man, overall, if he goes out and this is the height of all the highs, I can honestly say, man, that man has put on for our city in the largest amount. And bro, like, he's a fucking legend. I can't say anything else.
305, baby. 305, baby.
I say, yeah, I don't even like. I feel how you feel as far as proud of Jorge Masvidal, and it's not even just because I've never been to the 305. I feel like it's just more from people that I don't know the best word, but come from a background similar to Masvidal. Even like not even just 305. I'm sure like that's like forwards extremely proud of Usman, Till, and you do get that sort of proud, but I mean, I feel the same way as you, and I'm not from the 305, so I think it's even bigger than that.
I feel like Jorge is very relatable because Jorge is just real. You know what I'm saying? Like Jorge Masvidal is just a real motherfucker. Let's just be real.
Yeah, just real. He's real. Didn't have the politics on his side. He kind of like from the streets. I would say not.
It's like it's. I mean, listen what he said about Darren Till. In what was it, in the post match or the press conference where he's like, yo, I have no problems with Darren Till. He told me right to my face that he was gonna knock me out. And he's like, I love that. He is a man. I mean, just that attitude. I mean, we walk around in our lives and whatever we do, we don't go into cages and stuff, and we like I don't know. There's something about when you walk, you're walking. You're saying whether you are, the LeBron James, the Anderson Silvas, whoever you are, the number one in your game or the number infinity. Just being a man, to be who you are, to say you are, where there's no games, no gimmicks. I say I'm gonna be here at 9, I'm here at 9. I say I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna say it's consider it done. I mean, when you recognize that in people, I guarantee you, if you told George, yo, come through for a barbecue, yo, just bring sodas. He's bringing more than sodas.
He's bringing a 3-piece. He's and the soda.
I walked into that, huh? I walked into that. He's bringing a 3-piece. You know what I'm saying? Like, those people that you invite to a family get-together, a barbecue or whatever, and you're like, yo, come through. Hey, do I need to bring something? Nah, man, just bring ice. And then they bring, they know like 60 people's coming and they only bring one bag. It's like, what the hell is this, bro? Like, bring fucking ice. He's the guy that's bringing ice and bringing a case of beers just in case.
Yeah, there's a great video by like Mixed Molly Whoppery. Is it Mixed Molly? Yeah, it's Mixed Molly Whoppery on Jorge Masvidal. And if anyone hasn't seen that, you gotta watch it. It's great. He talks about Jorge Masvidal and kind of gives a little even more insight on Masvidal's story. And I think just even what you've said today, from where he met Kimbo, I think just every single piece of Masvidal's story is interesting. And I would, like, he was already working on a documentary, Backyard to Bright Lights. I hope he didn't finish it because his story is not done. Like with Ben Askren, with this world record, with a potential title shot, his story's not done. Even if he doesn't win the title, just the fact that he was able to get to the title shot through, I mean, he had to go the long road, the scenic
Yeah.
route. 34-13. He's only 34 years old, and he's got 47 fights. And
Yeah.
he's not walking around slurring his words. He's not walking around, people thinking he's done in the game. He's not going to retire till he wants to. He's still competing at the highest level of a weight class up with this much experience, which lets you know how real of a deal that is. Because a lot of people with 47 fights, you're wondering when the CTE is going to kick in. Masvidal, that's not the case at all. When he loses, it's split decision. It's not like he's getting tagged up, like
Yeah.
a Gaethje or a Elkins or a Diaz, any of that. It's
Melvin
finesse.
Gillard. I mean, Melvin Gillard. Remember, he fought. When did he fight? Who did he fight? He fought Dustin Poirier, I think it was. And Melvin Gillard walked in there with like 47 fights, 47 victories or something like that. And you were looking at listening to the speech. I mean, listen to the build up to the fight. And you're like, God damn, Melvin, please don't take this fight. Meanwhile, George is not that way. It's just, I would say this, man. If you guys on YouTube, go and I mean, you have the video that he just did. He just did an hour and 20 minutes with Dan Hardy, full Reptile YouTube channel. I subscribed to that the moment I saw it, because Dan Hardy's another one's putting out amazing content.
For sure.
But George was involved in a mini documentary series years ago. It's like almost 10 years ago, called The Miami Hustle. It's by Genghis Khan Films. It has Jay-Z Cavalcante. It's Colby.
Colby
Yeah,
Covington.
Colby Covington. All the ATT guys before they moved to the new place. Yoel's in it. It's beautiful, man. It's absolutely beautiful.
And Conor
I can't-
McGregor's story really does not have shit on Masvidal's. 100%. It's not close, in my opinion. Conor's got a great story, and it's more popular, but Masvidal's would be like the 8 Mile, of stories. Like if he did it, it would be the all-time best. I don't think anyone's ever gonna beat it.
Bro, I remember just like going to barbershops and stuff and just hearing, about him and hearing about these backyard fights. I remember the rumor going around was that Kimbo was putting these fights on because his mother was disabled, and this was a way to raise money to feed his family and give money to his mom, which was total bullshit. But that was the stories that were going around in the barbershops and stuff like that. So bro, when this dude, he is such like just a regular person. You know what I'm saying? I can't keep going.
I know. I completely feel the way you feel, but enough with the lovey-dovey. It's about to get heated in here, guys. And we got some debates, and I done heard some motherfucking blasphemy. I ain't even holding back no more, man. I done heard some blasphemy, and I didn't even heard my man Christian agree with it. People saying Holly Holm is not great. Not only is it blasphemous because MMA, she is great, but it's also blasphemous because she's the preacher's daughter. But it's blasphemous, man. Holly Holm, and I could say, you guys know my bombshell because I already dropped it in the Discord. I hope you guys have answers for now. I hope you did your homework, because my question is, and I'll just start with it. If Holly Holm is not great, first I'll say this. There's a difference between great and GOAT. Diego Sanchez was great. I'm not saying he's one of the GOATs. He's not one of the greatest fighters of all time. He will be a Hall of Famer. Shit like that. Holly Holm. I'm gonna pull up her resume, but Holly Holm, I'm not saying she's one of the greatest fighters of all time. I'm not saying she'll ever beat Amanda Nunez. I'm not saying she's ever gonna beat Valentina Shevchenko. I'm not saying she'll ever beat Cyborg. But those are the GOATs. She is one of the only females on the planet that will be able to go 5 rounds with Cyborg. That is great. She is one of the only females to ever win a bantamweight title and challenge for a featherweight title. She's fought to, barring that split decision, she could be a double champ. And then, literally, nobody would even be having this conversation if she got the decision against Jermaine Durandamy, because you couldn't debate it because she's a 2-division
Right.
champion in WMMA. So the
Right.
fact that she didn't get that one decision, she's all of a sudden not great? No, because arguably she won that fight. People bring up the Miesha Tate loss. She won 4.5 rounds of that fight. Did she get the W next to her name? No, but her fighting skills are great. I'm not talking about her record. I'm talking about her skills are great. And just the last question, and I'll let anybody take the floor. If Holly Holm's not great, name one fighter outside of Cyborg, outside of Nunez, Shevchenko, Joanna, and Andrade, who is great in WMMA, if not Holly Holm?
I think Holly Holm's great. I think she's a great fighter.
That's
But
all I'm
just
saying.
just a quick correction. She decisively won two of those rounds against Miesha.
Oh, get out of here.
That's-
She smashed
that's-
Miesha. It wasn't close. If it went to a decision, they would have been unanimous, and there might have been a 47-46 in there.
Nah.
That wouldn't even have been a split. Go ahead. Joe.
Anyway, Holly, she's a great fighter. You know what I'm saying?
Thank
Like
you.
she's one of the few who can go 5 rounds. But the thing is, look at who Holly lost to. She's lost to Amanda
I'm gonna
Nunes.
pull up her. I'm gonna pull it. Thank you. That's a GOAT she lost to. So I mean, if you're talking about
She
greatness, that
lost
don't
to
even
Amanda
count.
Nunes, which is a GOAT.
Mhm.
She lost to Chris Cyborg, which is a GOAT.
Shevchenko.
She lost to Valentina Shevchenko, which is a GOAT. She lost to Miesha Tate, which is a GOAT.
Mind you,
You know
she
what I'm
fought Shevchenko and Cyborg to decisions. I mean, just a lot of girls that are not great are getting finished by Shevchenko or Cyborg or both.
Right. I just feel like, I feel like you should give Holly respect to a certain level, but I think the UFC kind of went overboard with it a little bit as far as, giving Holly all of these opportunities coming off of a loss. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, how can you give this woman so many opportunities coming off of a loss? Like Holly, the only fight that Holly really worked her way back to in bantamweight was the win over Betch Correa. You know what I'm saying? And then miraculously, Holly gets moved to the number 1 contender, number 2 contender. And I'm just like, how, when you come from being a former champ, you lost, then you lost another fight in bantamweight to Valentina, then you lost, and then you won against Betch Correa.
I can answer that. I'll actually answer that real quick because I do understand what you're saying. A lot of people, I think that's one of the things, the same reason. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I think a lot of the people feel like Holly's privileged, kind of like I feel about Ben Askren. But this is the case for Holly Holm. That's different. And Kayla Harrison is not even close. Kayla Harrison, if she's got a little privilege or whatever, that might be the case. But I don't think that's why she's great. I think it's because her credentials. We're not going to go into that debate though. We're gonna stick it on Holly. We're gonna keep it here. But this is why Holly got those opportunities. I understand where you're coming from. Why'd she get these opportunities off of losses? Because she was going from division to division. She went from bantamweight to featherweight, and it's not just any division to division. There was no featherweight division. There was nobody to fight in that division. It wasn't populated. Holly Holm's one of the first to go up there. So it's going to a new division, fighting a title fight. That's not the same thing as losing 2 fights at bantamweight and then getting a title shot at bantamweight. She lost and she went up a whole nother 10 pounds. It's a whole nother challenge, whole nother weight class, and fought GDR. Then she came back down 10 pounds. And then she went back up 10 pounds and fought Cyborg off of that win. Then she stayed up at 145. So she's going up and down weight classes. She lost to Miesha Tate in a title fight. Then she lost to Valentina Shevchenko at 135. So she lost a title fight, and then she lost to Shevchenko. And then she went up a division. It's not like she got some huge opportunity in that same division. She lost her title, and then she lost to Shevchenko, and then she went immediately up and fought Cyborg in a whole new, or Jermaine Durandamy in a whole new division. So I think the losses on her record are the only reason people even say she's not great. But even for that, people aren't considering she's going up weight classes. She's fighting the greatest fighters of all time. She's also a former champion. Some of these losses are arguable. It's not like she got dominated by GDR or Miesha Tate. It's very arguable she won those fights. And so if let's say, they went to a decision and she beat Miesha Tate. If you're talking about who won the fight, who would win the rematch, who you would put your money on, it's Holly Holm. Who's the better fighter?
Miesha Tate.
No, that's you. You're extremely biased to Miesha Tate. People might not know that, but no, Miesha Tate is not better than Holly Holm. They fought 5 times. Holly's winning 4 or 5. Holly's the better fighter. She's got the better skills. And Jermaine Durandamy.
Holly is the better striker than Miesha. Let's be real.
I'll say this: in Holly Holm's whole UFC career, the only non-GOATs she lost to were Miesha Tate and Jermaine Durandamy, and both of those she could have won. Everyone else was a GOAT. She showed she's hold on. She showed she's a mixed martial artist. She's not just a striker. She's not just a striker.
Misha's not a GOAT, bro.
I said everybody aside from Jermaine Durandamy and Miesha Tate.
But no, but that's what you're saying. You're excluding those two.
Because because what I said is she's only got 5 losses in the UFC. 3 of them are GOATs. So we're not putting her in GOAT conversation. So let's take the 3 GOATs away. You've got Jermaine Durandamy and Miesha Tate are her 2 losses. Whichever way you want to do it, we can look at whichever ones, but they're separate.
But what we're saying is you're taking Miesha Tate out of the GOAT.
She's not a GOAT. What? Miesha Tate's not a GOAT? Is that what you're saying?
She held the belt in 2 organizations,
bro.
Miesha Tate's a GOAT and Holly Holm's not great. Is this an episode of Punk'd?
Dude, come on, dude.
Is this an episode of Punk'd?
No, it's not.
Miesha Tate's a GOAT and Holly Holm's not even great?
No, I think Holly's great. But
okay,
to say that Miesha Tate's not one of the GOATs is crazy.
This debate is solely, is Holly Holm great? That is all this is. It's not GOAT. Okay. It is Holly Holm great?
Not GOAT. You have to remember Holly's background. Holly came into MMA with a lot of mileage already on her.
And still fought against GOATs. And didn't get knocked out with all that mileage against GOATs.
Listen, I will put Holly Holm firmly next to her equivalent in for the men, next to Chael Sonnen. And Luke Thomas said it best. Is Chael Sonnen into the rarefied air of elite? Do you make arguments for Chael Sonnen to be on the Mount Rushmore of elite? Whoever the Mount Rushmore is that you have, whoever's on your Mount Rushmore. I think that Chael does not belong on anybody's Mount Rushmore.
No.
Just the same way I don't think Holly belongs on anybody's Mount Rushmore. I can honestly say, I would even argue to say that.
And we're not talking Mount Rushmore here. We're just talking great.
Well, I mean, that's
we're not even sniffing Mount Rushmore.
No, but for women, I think that Ronda, skills-wise, based off of her competition, doesn't belong on a. Is Ronda great? I think Ronda's great only for what she did outside of the ring, but in the ring.
And we're talking in the ring.
Yeah, well, okay, in the ring, but who did Ronda fight? Really?
Whoa, Ronda Ronda and Miesha both had credible competition. If you really want to, if you want to go back through it and look, I mean, you got. I mean,
and I think I just got to say, Luke Thomas is dead wrong about Chael Sonnen as well. If you look at Chael Sonnen's resume, I mean, and I'll say this though. I'll say this. I would argue Chael Sonnen is great, but I don't think that's a fair comparison to Holly Holm, because I think Holly Holm is not only more well-rounded than Chael Sonnen, as we saw in the Megan Anderson fight. She's not just a striker. She can wrestle. Holly Holm is a mixed martial artist. She does it all. She boxes. She kicks. I mean, she wrestles. She grapples. So Chael Sonnen's never been a striker. He's always just been a wrestler, more one-dimensional. So when you talk MMA, I wouldn't put him on the same level as Holly Holm, who also won a title and challenged for another title in another division. Chael also never won a title. So I don't think that's a fair comparison. I think Holly Holm in WMMA is great. And also MMA, men's MMA, there's a lot more guys to compare Chael to. A lot more greats have been there. The great list is a whole lot longer. You could name, if I told you the same thing I said about WMMA, if I said, aside from Jon Jones, DC, and Cormier and McGregor, name great fighters, you could give me a whole list of fighters. But if I said that to WMMA, I've asked this morning, no one's ever answered it. Aside from Jessica Andrade, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Cyborg, Nunez Shevchenko, who is great in WMMA. See how many great fighters you get before you come to Holly Holm.
But okay, but that's not we're basing it off of skill. If
Skill,
I'm doing
resume.
if I'm doing an eye test, I have to make a list. All right, like in any sport, like for example, like in the NFL. In the NFL, there's only 5 great quarterbacks. 5 great quarterbacks, but yet there's 32 teams, right? You can't you can be in the top 10 of quarterbacks and not make it into the top 5, but doesn't mean just because you're number 8, you're shit.
Okay,
Like,
but the difference is that this is the difference. You're not great if you're in the NFL. Like, for one, it's apples to oranges, but just to use that comparison, to use that comparison to what you're saying, if you are a quarterback that is perennial, like in NFC title, if you're in title games, in Super Bowls, and you win one Super Bowl, but you don't win another one, but you make it back to the title game, and you're a quarterback that's doing that, you're still great because you don't win 5 Super Bowls.
I hear what you're saying. That's perfectly fine. That's fine. But it's just like, if I had to rank women's skills, I think
Holly Holm is one of the most well-rounded fighters you are going to find outside of the GOATs.
Because you're limited by sample size. But
so she's great. That's the same thing with my Kayla Harrison debate. It's not because I think she's got the same skill set as Jon Jones. There's a limited. How many girls are fighting at 155? She's only got to beat like 2 girls before she's fighting the GOAT.
Jump in, Dennis.
Give me
what you have to remember is Holly came into MMA with a lot of mileage already on her.
And what side of the debate are you on, Dennis? Do you think and we're not saying GOAT, do you think Holly Holm is great or not great?
I stay away from labels as much as I can. Holly should be respected.
Fair.
I believe she.
And I think it's disrespectful to say Holly Holm's not great, actually.
Great is another level for me. And GOAT means greatest of all time. That's not a term to be thrown around so lightly.
Yeah, not GOAT, not greatest of all time, just great.
Right? So that's another debate, and that's a silly waste of time as well in my mind. But let me finish. So Holly to me proved that Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey were simply at the right place in the right time and had the right looks at the time. Holly didn't have the background in MMA. She didn't have the lineage, the genetics in MMA, and she still kicked the shit out of Rousey, and she fought Miesha well. And she didn't have the background in MMA. She didn't have the number of fights and that. That proves to me that Rousey and Miesha really weren't that good. If somebody with the age of Holly Holm and the lack of background in MMA could do that well against them. I respect, I've seen video clips I didn't really know of Holly Holm until she got into MMA. I've seen video clips of her boxing, she got beat, she got knocked out, she came back and beat the guy that knocked out. I think she's to be respected. It also, just again points out that how much of a hype job Rousey was. So
I feel like piggybacking off of what you just said, Holly came into the sport with a boxing background. Now, you have to give that credit to Holly as a fighter. But when you're talking about as a mixed martial artist, and you're talking about who are these people, someone made the comment a while ago saying that who has Miesha and Ronda fought. I mean, let's really look at who Miesha, just to argue the point that Miesha Tate is one of the GOATs. Let's look at who Miesha beat. She beat Sarah Kaufman. She beat Marlos Conan. She beat, she came into the UFC. She beat Jessica Eye. She beat Holly Holm. I mean, you got to give. She had 2 wars with Ronda Rousey. She fought Julie Kedzie. I mean, that at that time, the competition level was very different than it is now. That's where you get like your Amanda Nunez and whatnot. So you can't just discredit those girls for what they done. But I think the experience and stuff that Miesha Tate had against Holly Holm was what won Miesha Tate that fight. Holly Holm is not a well-rounded mixed martial artist. You know what I'm saying? Like she out grappling Megan Anderson is not really a staple in your belt for being. That doesn't solidify Holly Holm as being a grappler because she really didn't do anything but hold Megan Anderson down. So I mean, it's not hard to out grapple Megan Anderson. So I don't think that gives her a notch for being a well-rounded fighter because Holly is not a well-rounded fighter.
Okay, I got to jump in.
Rounded fighter, but she's done very well given her limited background in that.
I mean, she got dominated from start to finish on the ground with Miesha Tate. I mean, there was nothing she could do to answer to a high school grappler. So, I mean, I feel like, you know,
I'll say
a
this.
person,
I'll say
a
this.
person that hasn't grappled very much at all is going to lose to a good high school grappler. Now that doesn't.
I don't think Miesha
That's a-
Tate was
that's
one of the
a-
greatest, but I will
that's a
say I do think
variable
I don't think
to
she was one of the greatest of all times. I do think Miesha Tate was great. She was 18-7 as a women's mixed martial artist. A lot of people aren't considering how new women's mixed martial arts is, and that's why I do think Miesha Tate is great, because when I asked that question, that still, since this morning, nobody has answered. Outside of those 5 girls, who is great in women's MMA? I think you would get to Holly Holm before Miesha Tate, but Miesha Tate is also going to come up on that list as a girl that's fought at the highest level, and she does have a winning record. She doesn't have a 500 record. She did fight against Nunez. She fought against Holly Holm. She beat Holly Holm even though she was losing that fight. She beat Holly Holm. So I do think, and she won the UFC title. I do think Miesha Tate is great. I do not think she's a GOAT. And I think Holly Holm is better than Miesha Tate.
She won the Strikeforce title too.
Yeah, so I mean, she won the Strikeforce title. I mean, that's not as impressive as the UFC title, you know, but
at that time,
at that time it was. And yeah, so I mean, you know, if you look at her record back when she was in Strikeforce, fighting girls like Julie Kedzie, Marlos Conan, and Suatama and Akano, like, these girls are. There wasn't no androgynes back then. There were androgynes, there was, but Tatiana Suarez, Kayla Harrison's, all these prospects, they weren't here. This was the girls that these were the pioneers. So you can't look at their resumes and really hold it against them. Oh, who did they fight? There was nobody to fight aside from.
Bro, a win, dude. Do you not know who Marlos Conan is?
Yeah, that's one girl. But who the hell is? He tell me Akano and Frausto and Cool Ball. That's one girl.
Wait.
No. Let me say something, because I can tell that full time you weren't into women's MMA back then. So of course you're gonna.
Yeah, nobody was.
You're gonna. No,
nobody was.
I was.
That was that women's MMA. Okay, but look,
you're gonna blow off.
Marlo Suatamo was 4-1, bro. And guess who she fought? Nobody.
I'm talking about Marlos Conan.
Yeah, and I said I know who Marlos Conan is. I literally said that's the one girl. Marlo Suatamo, Akano, Frausto, Cool Ball. Those are the girls I'm saying are nobodies. I know who Marlos Conan is, and I know who Julie Kedzie is. That because they have 20 fights and 30 fights. I'm talking about these other girls are nobodies in Strikeforce.
She fought Sarah Kaufman.
Yeah, that was early in her career, and she lost that fight. That was the only. Okay.
Sarah Kaufman is the same girl that's about to win this PFL tournament.
No, she's not. She's not even getting close.
Ain't fucking with Sarah Kaufman,
yeah, she is. You'll see. 100% she is. But she lost to Sarah Kaufman, who's a great wrestler.
Exactly. She lost to Sarah Kaufman.
But look, aside from Sarah Kaufman and Marlos Conan, there's 13 girls here you can look at that are nobodies. And you're talking GOAT. I mean, Akano, Frausto, Cool Ball, Oriza, Baptiste, Bednark, Welsh, Maxwell, Finney, nobodies. You got Kaufman and you got Conan. That's it.
Miesha Tate is a trailblazer for women's MMA.
Yeah, she's a trailblazer. She's not a GOAT.
Women's MMA.
She's a trailblazer. She's not a GOAT.
She achieved 2 world titles. And
she's a trailblazer like Gina Carano.
Exactly. Gina Carano
not a GOAT.
Is a WMMA GOAT.
Not a GOAT.
Okay.
You're talking greatest of all time, Skillz?
I think hold on. I think stepping back from this conversation and looking at it, I think we're all gonna agree with full time. What he if stop me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is that if there was a room like a VIP,
I'm listening.
Holly Holm. What you're saying, if I understand you correctly, Holly Holm would not be in the VIP. However, Holly Holm would be holding the goddamn rope to get into VIP. And if anybody's getting into VIP, the first one to get into VIP is going to be Holly Holm. Everybody else line up. I think Miesha Tate is also holding that rope.
Yeah.
If that is what you're saying,
that's
100%
exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and that's if we're saying VIP is the GOATs.
Yeah.
They're right outside of GOATs. They're great still.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
If you look, because now going back to it, some of these fights, do you guys remember the hype job that Gina Carano got because she was a trailblazer, because she was beautiful, and then a fucking real GOAT came in
No,
and ended all of that.
No, that's exactly right, though.
You
That's
got it
exactly
wrong. No,
right.
that's wrong. Gina Carano didn't get hyped because
Oh,
Gina, no. Let me correct you on that. Gina Carano didn't get hyped because she was beautiful. Yeah, it helped.
skills.
But
No,
dude,
no, no,
you
she
have to,
had
but
skills.
you have to realize Gina Carano went to Japan and won a World Muay Thai Championship. That is a huge accolade to go to Japan and win a Muay Thai as an American and win a Muay Thai championship. Gina Carano was the shit.
It doesn't
Gina
make you a
Carano
GOAT in
was right.
MMA because you had some success in
earned
some
what
Muay
you
Thai
got.
tournament in Japan. It's got nothing to do with your status in MMA GOAT.
Yes, it does.
You won a Muay Thai tournament. What the hell does that have to do with your MMA GOAT status? It's a one-dimensional tournament where girls couldn't take you down or anything. I mean, it's got nothing to do with MMA. That's like saying Ben Askren won a wrestling tournament, so he's an MMA GOAT. What?
That's not what I'm saying. What
He
I'm
went
saying
over to Japan and out-wrestled everybody. He's great.
What I'm saying is that Gina Carano got to the status that she got to because of what she had done. Now you can't come saying, oh, Cyborg came in and beat a real GOAT came in and beat her. Cyborg was roided up when she beat up Gina Carano. Everybody knows that.
That's true.
So
that's true.
I mean, you can't take any clout off of Gina Carano. She earned what she got. These girls.
She is a trailblazer. She's a pioneer. I think she would go down in the UFC Hall of Fame, Women's MMA Hall of Fame. But I just don't think, as far as GOAT, greatest fighters of all time, well-rounded, I don't think she's up there.
Yeah.
And I think she suffers from the same thing as like Royce Gracie. Is Royce Gracie a legend? Yes, but is he one of the most well-rounded fighters of all time? No. But he is a legend. He's a trailblazer. He's a pioneer.
He's can be said for Holly Holm. She's not a well-rounded fighter.
She is. What are you talking about? Did you see how she beat Megan Anderson? That was not with her striking.
Dude, like I just told you, out grappling Megan Anderson doesn't mean anything.
It means you at least are well-rounded enough. It means you are at least well-rounded enough to use your wrestling and beat the top contender of the featherweight division. Before Holly Holm beat Megan Anderson, people were talking about her fighting Cyborg. That's the legit featherweight. Holly Holm was able.
Full-time. Come on, man.
No, because no one was making that argument before she fought Megan Anderson. Nobody made that argument.
What was that, Dennis?
She trains.
That's like somebody going out there and outstriking Damian Maia, bro. That's not gonna say anything.
Okay. If she's not well-rounded, how come none of the GOATs have? If Holly Holm's not well-rounded, how come none of the GOATs can just go in there, take her down, and get her out of there? How come Cyborg, Nunez, none of these girls can take her down and get her out of there? How come they can't just take advantage of that? Why not? Why not?
The only person
Holly Holm had her tall stature. She's hard to take down against the fence because you see that all the time. If anyone has a little bit of a height advantage, especially if it's significant, when you're in a clinch situation against the fence, it's hard to lift them up and get them off the ground, take them down. And so the greatest fighters of all time, if doesn't have takedown defense, if she's not well-rounded, for one, you can say what you want about Megan Anderson's ground game. No one has exploited her. If she's one-dimensional, no one's ever exploited that. No one's ever.
Cindy Dandois submitted Megan Anderson in Invicta.
So Megan Anderson, I'm talking about Holly Holm. I said no, but how come if Holly Holm is one-dimensional, how come nobody has exploited her ground game?
Miesha Tate did.
She didn't exploit her ground game. She choked her out. She held on for dear life for one submission. She didn't take her down and just choke her out like Damian Maia, hold on to her and just expose her grappling. She had a last-second miracle submission. That is not exposing someone's ground game. Exposing someone's ground game is when you take them down and hold them down for 3 rounds in a row. That is exposing a ground game, not getting a damn miracle submission. That's not exposing anything. I watched the fight. What are you talking about? I've watched every single one of these fights since Holly Holm. Marion Renault's got a great ground game. Did she expose Holly Holm even before she was a champion? No.
Okay.
Yeah, you can finish. But just keep in mind, you're the same one that's saying Kat Zingano or Miesha Tate is a GOAT. A greatest fighter of all time.
Okay, if you would have really watched the Holly and Miesha fight, you would have known that in the second round, Miesha took Holly down early and dominated her the entire round of that entire second round of the fight. It wasn't some Hail Mary
takedown that got
Okay,
Misha in that fight. Misha knew that if she got the fight to the ground, then that she would beat Holly. Now you're saying that Holly is considered one of the greats, so you're telling me
not greatest. She is a great.
So you're telling me somebody with a one-dimensional game, Holly
not
is great
one-dimensional.
She's not. Holly's great at striking and not great at anything else. So you're telling me with those accolades, that makes Holly Holm one of the great. How can you be a great?
I'm not saying one of the greatest of all times. I'm saying she is a great. What are you talking about? So just let me get this straight. So what you're saying is Holly Holm is not great and Miesha Tate's a GOAT. That's what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Because you just said I said Holly Holm's one of the greats. Hold on. My entire argument has been that she is great. Not one of the greats. Greatest of all times. I'm saying she is great. So you're saying she's not great because that's what I'm saying. Or are you misrepresenting my argument when you say I said she's one of the greats?
What I'm saying is you're taking well-rounded fighters. You're putting well-rounded fighters behind Holly Holm. You're putting Miesha Tate behind Holly Holm as being GOAT status. And you're taking a
No, hold on. Holly Holm being GOAT status. You just said again Holly Holm being GOAT status. That is not what I'm saying. I've never once said that.
I said you put Miesha Tate. But when he made the analogy about the VIP line, you put Miesha Tate behind Holly Holm.
Holly Holm is better than Miesha Tate.
How can you say Holly is better than Miesha when Miesha has a well-rounded game and Holly does not have a well-rounded game?
Because I do believe Holly Holm has a well-rounded game, and before the Megan. Okay, so if that's the case, how come going into the Megan Anderson fight, you don't have a video or anyone doesn't have any? No one was like, oh, Holly Holm's about to just completely dominate Megan Anderson on the ground, man. This is not going to be close. Megan Anderson has no ground game. Nobody expected that. And so what you're saying is, even if no, listen, because even if you think Holly Holm's ground game wasn't one of the greatest ground games when she fought Miesha Tate, are you saying Holly Holm can't evolve when she fights Valentina Shevchenko, Jermaine Durandamy, Chris Cyborg? Do you think the whole time her ground game's not getting better at all?
Dude, she didn't go to the ground in any of
exactly, and Cyborg's supposed to be one of the greats. She couldn't expose her ground game. Cyborg's one of the greatest MMA fighters, right? She couldn't take her to the ground. Amanda Nunez didn't take her to the ground. So to say Holly Holm is one-dimensional is disrespectful when we have seen her expose someone else's grappling. We have seen Holly Holm expose somebody's grappling. And you're saying she's one-dimensional, but she exposed someone's grappling. Do you think, let me ask you a question. Do you think Ben Anderson could expose anybody's striking? Anybody?
Dude.
No!
Megan Anderson, you're putting a whole lot of clout on
fuck out of here.
Out-grapple Megan Anderson.
Ben Askren is one-dimensional. He will never expose somebody's striking. Holly Holm exposed a featherweight's grappling. That is not one-dimensional. Ben Askren is one-dimensional. Learn what the fuck one-dimensional means. Talking about Miesha Tate. Go, boy!
Does not make you a grappler, bro. A grappling win over Megan Anderson does not make you a grappler.
Okay, I didn't say she's a grappler. I said she's well-rounded. She can grapple. She's got defensive grappling. She's got takedown defense. And she can also expose your grappling if you're not good at grappling because Holly Holm can grapple. That's well-rounded. She can strike. She can grapple. If you can't grapple, she's going to grapple you.
How did that work against Miesha Tate?
Miesha Tate? Oh, so you're talking about her, what, fourth fight in the UFC before she fought Valentina, before she fought Cyborg, before she fought Nunez, before she was before she fought for the featherweight title, multiple weight classes? Oh, that's like me. That's like going to Jon Jones' first fight or first 4 fights. How was his striking back then? Oh, so he's not well-rounded because he couldn't strike early in his career. No, people evolve, and if you were one-dimensional, you would never expose somebody outside of striking. Just like I said, Ben Askren will never expose somebody striking. It's not going to happen because he's one-dimensional, not Holly Holm. And she's also great, which was my entire point from the beginning.
Okay.
Well,
and now, I was just going to say, is there anyone that wants to say Holly Holm's not great?
Spencer can take on Holly, and we'll see what ground you're going to.
Now, is there anybody, though, forward? I know we were really the ones who were supposed to have this debate. Do you still, after everything that's been said, believe Holly Holm is not great? I'm not saying GOAT. Do you think she's not great?
So the main sticking point here that we all have to understand is this is very subjective. Hold on, let me turn up my gigs music off real quick. One second. I was just getting me through that debate. Yeah, so as I was saying, like, it's all subjective, like in terms of being great and GOAT. Like for me, there's only one GOAT in women's MMA. Like again, the term GOAT is the greatest of all time. I don't know where people got this, the greats of all time. For me, it's just the
Mount
greatest.
Rushmore.
Maybe
I
there
think
could be a
people
contention
will
of one or
revert to.
two. That's kind of a different thing, but let's just keep it to just the word GOAT, because that's the word I've seen banning around a lot. So for me, GOAT is only Amanda Nunes. Before the Nunes Cyborg fight, you probably argue the two of them are up there. Now it's only obviously Nunes. And behind that, I think there's true greats of the MMA game, like Cyborg, let's say Shevchenko, cool. For me, Holly Holm isn't a true great like those guys. Yes, you can say maybe she's going to be revered as one because of that amazing performance against Ronda Rousey, which was a great performance. And for the casual fans, they were going to put her in that echelon with the other great fighters, right? But in my opinion, she's not a great fighter. When you look at her resume, like when you really look at it, in her last 7 fights, she's got 2 credible wins. Like when she lost to so many guys, so many women in very emphatic fashion as well, some of these fights. And again, when she lost to Miesha Tate, yeah, you're gonna say, oh, she was winning for four and a half rounds. Well, so was Cho Sullivan against Anderson Silva, but he's not a great because he didn't get the job done.
Exactly.
And he
I'm
lost
glad
in
you
the end,
said
just
that.
like how Holly Holm got choked up by Miesha
We'll
Tate
pull
in
up
the
Jorge
end.
Masvidal's
So
right
for
there.
me, and another thing about being great, for me, this is like my whole point of being great. For me, being great is about like sustained success, sustained excellence. And Holly Holm never showed that in her career.
Thank you.
Again, when I look at the true greats of MMA, and not just women, but also men as well, GSP, Mighty Mouse, Jon Jones. We're gonna get into this topic when we talk about Jon Jones as well later, I assume. They sustained it over a period of time. Holly Holm had one great performance, and straight after that, she lost her belt. Then she
Now
went on a losing
I'm
streak.
gonna let you finish.
I got to finish this. I got to finish because I've been stewing on this for a while. Trust me.
Okay, but you're misrepresenting the argument because you're saying she's not one of the greatest, and that's never been the debate.
No, he
You're
said
saying
she's not great. No,
he said look, he said there's one GOAT and then there's the greatest.
No,
you know, the
that's not what he
Cyborgs.
I'm saying there's one GOAT and then there's 2 greats behind that.
Yeah,
There's
so there's
like
2 greats behind that, Shevchenko and Cyborg, right?
Shevchenko, Cyborg, and I'm gonna say Rousey based on people are gonna hear the question about her competition, but at the time we didn't know her competition was apparently lacking until we found the girls later on who were able to then beat her. But if you look at it, she actually sustained greatness. Again, who's got the record for the most title fight wins in a row?
And see, that's
Ronda Rousey. What does Holly Holm have? One
people
great
on
win,
this panel would disagree with that. What you just did. You're saying Ronda Rousey is great because she sustained greatness. But do you not look at strength of schedule? The girls when Ronda Rousey fought the real greats, the Holly Holmes, even the Amanda Nunes, there was no sustaining greatness. So if she would have fought those girls earlier, there was no sustaining anything.
All those girls in 10 seconds, 15 seconds. So that was great at that time. Yeah. Maybe when you go to the next generation of fighters, Holly Holm, Nunes, they were slapping her up, and fair enough, she didn't send it to the next generation. But at least in that generation, she did it. Holly Holm in any generation, what is she sustaining? Nothing.
Okay, so
winning streak of beat Rousey, cool. And
she won her first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fights in a row. The difference is there wasn't a pretty belt, but Ronda Rousey wasn't fighting girls much better.
No, but when Holly Holm got to her peak and she's fought against the top level fighters, her record is what? Okay, beat Rousey, cool. Lost to Miesha Tate, lost to Shevchenko comfortably, lost to Jareen the Randomir. Yeah, close fight, but she still lost. Beat Betch Correa. Is that a great win? I mean,
no,
not really.
No, opinion. Okay. So you say is Betch Correa a great win, but you didn't say is Miesha Tate a bad loss because arguably she if that fight would have went to a decision, she was winning the fight. If you're talking about who's got the better skills, who would win a fight, it's Miesha Tate. You didn't stop at Jermaine Durandamy and say, oh, is that a bad loss? So you stop at Betch Correa. Is that a good win? But for GDR, it's not like, hey, that was controversial.
All right, so let me set the point. So in your initial point when you set the table on this discussion, you had about like 5 ifs and 12 coulds in your debate about why Holly Holm is great. You don't need there's not about ifs and coulds. It's about what the record says.
No, it is. It's about strength of schedule. Exactly. It's 100% about strength of schedule.
This could have been like no. She lost those fights.
Okay, so look at Jorge Masvidal. Whenever he had 3 split decision losses in his last 5 fights, was he not great then?
He was great, but it wasn't.
He was great. So if he was going to fight Ross Pearson, listen.
But if we're going to bring up Jorge Masvidal, we're comparing to great fighters.
Jorge Masvidal is a great fighter. I'm comparing it to another great fighter.
Let me finish again. That's the thing for me. When I look at great, I'm just looking at what you're doing against title opposition, guys who are at the top echelon of the game. And when Holly Holm gets the top echelon of the game, her record is basically 2-5 or 2-6. That's not a great record. Like, let's be real. Like, that's not a great record. So
Yeah,
you're looking
but
at
she's
great
fighting the
now. I don't
greatest.
think she's a
Now
true great.
to
I don't
my
think she's a
point, she's
great
fighting the
for a record
greatest.
against
If she
top
was
fighters.
not fighting the greatest of all time, she would be winning fights. That's why strength of schedule is so important. You can go 50-0 fighting cans. You can go on a 20-fight win streak, 10-fight win streak if you're fighting cans. But once you start fighting the greats, you're gonna lose some fights. That's just how it goes.
I'm
Masvidal's
gonna
not
put
gonna
this.
go undefeated. That does not mean he's
I'm gonna
not
put
great
this question
because
to
he
you, and
can't beat
anybody else in the
everybody
panel
in
can
the
also
planet.
answer it as well. I'm gonna put
Before
this question to
Masvidal
you.
knocked out Ben Askren, there were people make that with your argument that were saying Masvidal's not great. Oh, when he fought Damian Maia, when he fights specialists, he can't win. So Masvidal's not great. And to the same point, oh, look at her. Whenever he fought Ross Pearson, if you wanted to look back, oh, when he fought fighters in the UFC, what's his record? What's his record? Oh, he's 3-1 in his last 4 fights. So is he not great? No, there's politics. You could say, and you could try and destroy my argument back then. Oh, there's a lot of ifs in your argument about Masvidal. You're saying if the judges gave him the split decision. No, he's great regardless of the decision because the level of fighters and all the intangibles. It's not about your on-paper record. That's political.
So when I'm talking about great, I'm
how
comparing you to
about
the. Wait, let me just finish the point, Stamina, and then you can jump back in because I know you got a lot to say on it as well. When I'm talking about greats, we're comparing you to the greatest of all time, and you're talking about in that echelon. Masvidal hasn't even
No,
fought for a title yet, so we can't call him great in that era space. Now the question I'm going to ask you, and again anybody in the panel can also answer it. How many great wins do you need to be great? Because if you look at Holly Holm's record, she's got 1 great win, and that's it. It's a great performance,
that's
amazing performance.
subjective. You could
But
say
that's
how
it.
many
One
times you
great win
have
makes
to
you a
fight
great.
for a
got one.
title to
She's
be
got
great.
Not
one
in my
great
opinion.
win. She's got
That's
one great
subjective.
win.
That's it.
How
So
many
does a
titles do
great
you
have
have
a
to
one
win to
great
be
win?
great? How many
Not in my
title
opinion,
fights
no.
do you have to be great? That's all subjective.
I
She
think
lost
more,
one.
is more
So your
historic
basis
than
of making
great.
her great is that she's losing fights. That's your basis for it. And then 1 great win and losing fights against GOATs.
But
That's
losing
not
to
a great argument.
Cyborg is more in a 5-round fight is more impressive than beating Megan Anderson or some top contender, Macy Chiasson, Caitlin Vieira, any of these girls. Let's say she fought Caitlin Vieira at bantamweight instead of
She
going
should
and challenge herself and
That would be
fighting
a top win
Cyborg.
if she actually goes and fights her
So
and
she
wins.
would be
But
on a winning streak if she chose to fight girls like Caitlin Vieira and Aspen Ladd all
again,
day,
that's ifs
but she
and
wants to
buts. She hasn't
challenge
actually
herself and
fought
fight
her yet.
Cyborg. So
When we're
yeah, there's
looking
an
at her
L
record
on her
right now, she
record,
was
but she went
retired today,
5
like Dana
rounds
White
with
suggested.
Cyborg.
She has 1 great win to her name, and that's it.
Who
But
goes
fighting girls
like,
like Aspen Ladd,
you can-
Ketlin. I think you really don't know how good Ketlin Vieira really is.
But I'm saying you
I
can
think
keep
that's
this
what
simple.
I think that's
Like,
what you're
this isn't a
missing. You're
Caitlin
missing
Vieira
the
debate.
fact
We're
that
not getting into her potential. She hasn't proven anything yet.
Oof.
What I'm saying
what?
is, no, we're not
But
getting.
Kayla
You
Harrison
said Misha Tate's the GOAT. I understand. No, she nothing. We're not talking about her potential. We can talk
But
about
Kayla
Kayla. If
Harrison
you want to talk
has,
about
though,
potential,
right?
we can
But
talk about Kayla Harrison.
has.
But that's not what we're doing right now. What I'm talking about is I can make this really simple because, like I said, since this morning, nobody has answered the question outside of those 5 fighters. Who is great in women's MMA? And also, I could keep it really simple. Do you think a fighter that is not great would go 5 rounds with Chris Cyborg? Like, you could ask some really easy yes and no questions.
Thiago Santos is great, but he went 5 rounds with the GOAT, and almost some people say he won. Even if he won that, would I say he's a great? Maybe because he beat
He's
the
not
GOAT.
great.
But I don't think he's a great because he went 5 rounds with Jon Jones. Same with Holly Holm. 5 rounds with Cyborg.
Now you're saying
Good
a
performance,
great.
but
I'm not
you're
saying
not great if
a
the only
great.
win is
I'm saying
Ronda Rousey
great.
at a top
Thiago
level.
Santos' skill set is great.
Marlon,
You think Thiago Santos just went 5 rounds on one leg with Jon Jones and he's not great?
Marlos Conan went 5 rounds with Cyborg.
Yeah, and again,
Marlos Conan went 5 rounds with Cyborg back in the day. Okay, so back in the day, Marlos Conan was a great. And remember, I said I know Marlos Conan. I said I gave you all the other girls, no filter.
Just maybe there's 10.
What you say full time?
I said, remember, I said I knew Marlos Conan. I never said anything about Marlos Conan, so it was all the other girls. So Marlos Conan, I always agreed, was a great back then. It was the other girls, but that was the one girl, Marlos Conan. Now, what were you saying, Forward?
I was just saying the main point of contention we're going to see this so much differently is that you view great as in there's so many greats. There's like, and I just view it as if that great is such a high echelon yet you have to join and achieve. And for me to achieve, you have to do a lot of great things. And again, excellence over a sustained period of time. And Holly Holm just hasn't done that. So I don't know how many times we need to go over this topic.
We can just agree to disagree. We can agree to disagree because I do think she's done great things. I mean, if you want to talk about her skill set, if you want to talk about well-rounded, if you want to talk about multiple weight classes, if you want to talk about challenging herself, if you want to talk about shocking the world, if you want to talk about strength of schedule, if you want to talk about 5 rounds with Cyborg, Fighting
I mean,
Amanda.
how many of these
I
title
think
shots
for
did she
sure Holly
really
Holm is
earn, though?
great.
She earned the Ronda Rousey one, but she didn't earn the GDR one. Like, she came off of that after 2 losses.
The
This one, she got
GDR
it off
one
of
was another weight
grappling
class.
Megan
That was the
Anderson. Like,
difference. That was the difference. It was a whole nother weight. GDR didn't earn a title shot. It was a brand new weight class.
yeah.
You know, it's like
I'm not
Carla.
saying GDR is great
It's
either.
just a new.
Like,
It's a new
definitely
weight
not great.
class.
So all I'm saying now, everyone hold a little corner for 5. Genesis, I beg you, step up. Let's put some new energy into
Oh
this
yeah,
shit,
salute
please.
Genesis.
Hey, Genesis.
All right, let's hear it.
I am here.
We need you, goddammit.
There go my
Please
boo.
change up the function. Please open a window and let something different just blow in right now. I beg.
Of
Yeah,
course,
for real.
of course. I'm here to spread positive
And do you know the question, Genesis?
and positive aura. Okay, now what's the question?
The question is, Holly Holm. We're not asking if she's one of the greatest fighters of all time. We're not asking if she's a GOAT. We're just saying, is she great?
Yeah, just looking at everything that she's done, and her record isn't as bad as everybody trying to make it seem. She's 12-5 now, considering other people have been like 6-9 and 5-5. So I mean, y'all can give her a lot of heat and a lot of hell if you want, but I mean 12-5 against top tier, top level opponents. What do you expect? I don't get the concept of how outsiders and fans and stuff can try to criticize fighters and try to derail their progress because they're not well rounded or they feel like that fighter should have this or have that. She came from being a boxer, okay, a boxer, not her having like this amazing background in MMA like everybody else that she's faced, but to say that she's not that well rounded like everybody makes her out to be, she still gets in there in some kind of way. She survives to a certain point. So for you to be able to get into the ring with top level people that have been doing this their whole fucking life and survive, yeah, that makes you great, regardless of
Thank you,
how
Genesis.
anybody else wants to qualify it or try to discredit you or not. She went 5 rounds with Chris Cyborg. Who the fuck?
Ooh.
Who the fuck could not do that if you're not some type of great? If you're not
Thank
some
you,
type of great.
Genesis. Preach.
And look, and what? And not to discredit that Amanda fight that I just watched. Amanda took her to the ground. If you're not great, how the fuck do you get back up against somebody that's black belt and BJJ? Come on now, like cut the bullshit.
Wish I had a mic I could drop for you.
Now,
right
I agree with Genesis, and I agree with saying that Holly Holm is a great fighter. I completely agree with that. But the only issue I had with what Full Time said was saying that someone like Miesha Tate was not one
a
of the
GOAT.
great.
I didn't say
She's
Miesha
not a
Tate's
GOAT.
not great. I actually said Miesha Tate is great. I said
yeah,
she's not a
that's what
GOAT.
I disagree with him saying that
She's
Miesha
not a
Tate
GOAT.
wasn't a GOAT.
So wait, so you think Miesha Tate is a GOAT?
That's what he thinks, not me.
No, not you. I'm asking him what qualifies her to be the GOAT.
Because she was one of the women who put women's MMA on the map. The fight with
if it wasn't for it's a difference.
If it wasn't for the fight that she had,
let me stop you, baby. Let me stop you. It's a difference between pioneering for something for women to push forward and being a GOAT. Being a GOAT qualifies you. That means that you're the greatest of all time. You have had a phenomenal track record. You have done amazing in all of your fights. You have set these different standards, but you just coming in and helping push women's MMA forward, that doesn't qualify you to be a GOAT. It doesn't.
They're one of the first. I said she was a pioneer. She's a trailblazer.
If it wasn't for Miesha Tate, there would be no women in the UFC.
No.
No.
Whoa. If y'all want to speak some real facts, Dana White went to Strikeforce and watched Miesha Tate versus Holly Holm. Miesha Tate versus Ronda Rousey in the title fight, and that fight convinced him to bring women into the UFC. If y'all want to speak facts, let's speak facts.
That don't mean if there was no Ronda or Miesha Tate, there would never be women's MMA. That don't mean.
She's part of the reason why women are in the UFC, and I feel like she made it all the way to the top. She made it all the way to the status, so you know what I'm saying.
I think she's a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. I think she's a trailblazer. I think she's a pioneer. I just don't think she's a GOAT.
No, she's not a GOAT.
Oh, well, since Genesis says it, then I guess I'm okay with it.
You know,
Then.
Full Time says shit, and people, just want a new
I mean,
opinion. New
but you
opinion.
know
Let's
what?
get Genesis in here, though. Let's get Genesis in here. She gonna set everybody straight.
because you've talked yourself out of the privilege of people listening to you.
That's
FT.
fine. Even though you just know I'm always spitting
Genesis
facts.
flies straight.
Just know they could call
Genesis
me.
flies fucking
They could
straight,
call me
not
Full
you,
Time
bruv.
Big Facts because it's all I ever spit. Whether it's Kayla Harrison, whether it's Holly Holm, whatever.
please.
It's all it ever is.
Full
Big
time,
facts.
But you're the only one that says that. Self-praise is zero praise,
I'm not
bro.
It's not self-praise. I'm not confident. I'm convinced. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, full time, bro. Hey, dude. If I'm a big supporter of, if that's your fighter, dog. If that's somebody you roll with, homie, then you fucking roll with them, no matter what nobody tells you. And I know you catch a lot of shit on being 100% for Kayla Harrison, bro. Stick with your claim, bro. If that's what you think, bro. If that's your girl, that's your girl. Just like people tell me about my girl. When I say Montana De La Rosa is a future champion. When I say Jillian Robinson is a future champion. Oh, it's touching mouth. Valentina's at the top of that division. I don't give a fuck if it was Cyborg at the top of the division.
Thank you.
I feel like those girls are few. I just interviewed Jillian Robinson today. And
Okay. Salute to No Filter MMA. Make sure you guys check that out.
Absolutely. So, dude, hey, if you think Kayla Harrison is it, then she's it. But she got a fight on her hands when it comes to Sarah Coughlin, bro. I'm sorry. She got a fight on her hands, bro.
And to Stamina, is the Kayla Harrison the only thing that takes away from my credibility? Is that the only, or is it a multitude of things? I'm usually on point with what I'm saying.
It's one of many.
One of many. Okay.
It's one of
that
the
came
many,
from a
but
guy that said Holly Holm was not great.
The Kayla Harrison thing was the tipping point, though. There were a few infractions,
But you know
but that was the one I was like, ooh.
But to even go back to the Holly Holm thing, like, why the fuck is everybody giving her so much slack? I mean, no, she's not a good wrestler. She doesn't have a ground game, but
thank you.
But every time she gets
Arguable.
in there with people that do have a good ground game, the bitch is strong and she holds her own. So
she's at least got enough
you gotta give her credit. You gotta give her credit.
And Genesis, I'll say this: when you say no ground game, I'll say she doesn't have the best ground game. She's not supposed to, but to be able to get up from whenever Amanda Nunez takes you down, to be able to expose somebody else's ground game, you at least have been improving your ground game since you were a boxer. She's rounding out her game enough to take advantage of Megan Anderson, enough to get up when a GOAT takes you down. So she has a little bit of a ground game.
But
I'm not saying she's
But did you see how she got up from that when her and Amanda was on the ground?
No, I didn't. I can't recall it off the top of my head, but I do remember her getting up.
I study things and I see it for what it is. She gotta have some type of ground game because of the way she rolled out of there and got up, and she was able to hold Amanda in the clinch. Come on now. You can't be trash if you able to even
see. So that's what I'm saying. When you said she don't have a ground game, she's got some of a ground game. I'm not saying it's
a little, yeah.
You know, she's got a ground game at least. She's not super her striking is her best feature. That's what her focus is. But she's got a ground game enough to get up, and so and that's what you need to to fight her fight. If you can keep it standing, that's what you need is Holly Holm. You don't need to.
Yeah, and then the thing about Amanda is too. I mean, everybody knows this. Even if she was to get taken down and you keep Amanda on her back, she's not gonna get up, and that has been proven more than once.
Yep. So her nickname should be Turtle.
It has been proven more than it has been proven more than once. And I think Kat Zingano threw that out there and showed you how to keep her down.
Mm-hmm. Genesis, be quiet. Be quiet.
Don't nobody want to give Kat no credit for nothing either.
Yeah,
that's somebody else. Everybody want to try to throw under the bus, and
I think Kat Zingano, she might mess around and get a title shot just because the simple fact, if you remember, Michael Bisping, when he was the champion, he got to fight Dan Henderson, who was ranked like 10, just because it was something he wanted to get back. He's just like, man, that's somebody I want to fight. I've always wanted that rematch. I'm the champion. I'll call my shot. And for Amanda Nunez, it makes the most sense because aside from Caitlin Vieira, who might still be injured, I don't even remember the last time she fought. Aside from Caitlin Vieira, I mean, there's no one really in line to fight for that title.
Let's go, Kat. Let's go.
I don't even think she wants to even go back down that route. I mean, granted, I still feel like You
Let's
know,
go, Cat.
Amanda would win if they striking, but I still feel like if Cat still grabbed her, to me in my brain, I don't give a fuck what nobody else say. To me in my brain, if Amanda is striking, she's gonna win. But if Cat still grab her, I just still see it going the same way. I don't care what nobody else say. We could argue about it all day. I don't.
Cat, let's go,
Yeah.
Cat.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's
Let's
time
go,
for the
Cat.
new topic because we have such an amazing fight card that there's so much more to talk about. Plus, I got this Henry Weston that I'm ready to crack open to celebrate Luke Rockhold's latest devastating KO. So
You
let's
know
keep
what?
it moving, guys. Let's keep it moving.
This is
Let's keep it
Luke
moving.
Rockwell's second time getting his drop up. He just needs to hang it up. I'm done.
Okay, now I'm about to change the subject, but before we do, I
Yo,
just
before
want
we
to
move on,
ask. I
before we
asked
move
this
on,
question
real
in the
time.
morning. Before we switch this topic, I want to know if anybody's got any final answers. Aside from Jessica Andrade, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Valentina Shevchenko, Cyborg and Nunez, in women's MMA, who is great, if not Holly Holm?
Ronda Rousey.
That's one. Is that it? Final answer?
Before you actually didn't mention Joanna Jędrzejczyk in the Discord, but yeah,
Yeah,
those
that's
are
what
my
I'm
two.
saying. But, you know, there's one or two that might squiggle through. But, I mean,
Yeah.
for greats, I mean, it shouldn't go from GOAT to King. It's got to be, like, great somewhere in the
Also,
middle.
I would put Tate on the same level as Holly. Whether you want to say one's
Okay,
above
no,
the other,
I agree. I know, yeah,
I
no,
would say
I
Tate's on the
agree.
same level.
Yeah, to Chelsea, to Christian's point, you know, when he said Holly Holmes right outside the lounge, perfect. Yeah. All right, so
Yeah.
the next thing I really want to talk about is Jon Jones being the GOAT. Yeah, he's the GOAT, but man, like he's not my GOAT. Like he's one of the GOATs, but in my opinion, he's not the greatest fighter of all time. Like I'll hear your debate. I completely get where you're coming from in the record, but this dude's not my GOAT. I think Daniel Cormier is the GOAT. I mean, and it's really it's just recent. It's not just, you know, the past. It's not just after Jon Jones failed his drug test against Daniel Cormier. It's even what he's been doing recently for me. It's fighting the easy, and they're not easy fights. Clearly, Thiago Santos is nobody's easy fights, but they're the favorable matchups. Fighting the favorable matchup, the guys that you know you could argue they're top contenders, so yeah, they get title shots, but they were just middleweights, you know, 3 or 4 fights ago. So this is how I'm looking at it. Jon Jones is fighting these guys that are blown up middleweights essentially, that they haven't established themselves as light heavyweights aside from 2 or 3 fights. He's, you know, huge favorites in all of these fights for good reason. He's recently admitted to not wanting to challenge himself at heavyweight, and his reasoning was because it's too much of a challenge. He said it wouldn't be smart to go fight Daniel Cormier in his weight class, because he would have more size there, and you know that's his weight class. And so to me, that is the equivalent. He's literally saying he's ducking the fade at heavyweight from Daniel Cormier, and that makes sense if you've never fought him. You know, whenever George St. Pierre didn't want to go up and fight Anderson Silva, okay, it makes sense. You know, you've never went up there. GSP never talked about going to 185. He didn't already beat Anderson Silva twice. But this is completely different. Jon Jones has not only already beat DC twice, but he was willing to go up to heavyweight to fight Brock Lesnar. But now he's not willing to go up and fight a guy that he's already beat twice and a heavyweight that he's already been willing to go to before. So you'll go up and fight a matchup that's favorable, just like you're fighting these favorable matchups at light heavyweight, but you don't want to challenge yourself. If you're the greatest fighter of all time, Amanda Nunez, Daniel Cormier, these fighters challenge themselves. These fighters not only fight the number one contenders in their division, but they also, after they're done, they move up a weight class and they challenge themselves again. Win or lose, they challenge themselves. And so I think Jon Jones is ruining his GOAT status. I might have agreed he was the GOAT the second he knocked out Daniel Cormier. But after he failed his drug test and started admitting to not wanting to challenge himself, I actually am looking at him a little different. I would root for Daniel Cormier as the greatest fighter of all time. He's undefeated at heavyweight, knocked out the longest reigning heavyweight champion in the world. He was undefeated at light heavyweight to every single person except for Jon Jones, who failed a drug test when they fought, and the first fight was before USADA. So the only person he ever lost to was a cheat. And other than that, he's undefeated in the 2 heaviest weight classes. So DC's my GOAT, and I'll let Forward start this off because I do think you will make the case for Jon Jones.
I will, but I'm gonna let Infamous jump in because he just jumped in.
Okay,
so
what's going
I'll
on,
let him say as well.
Infamous? It's a party.
What's up? Everything's good, man. What's going on?
You sound a little down, man.
Well,
You
shit,
good?
I gotta go to work in like in fucking an hour or so.
Okay, we'll let you start it off, man. Do you think Jon Jones is the GOAT currently? And if so, make your case.
Well, the only way I put him number one on the list is if you got like 5 stars next to his name for all the times he's fucked up and all the drug tests he's failed and all the times we probably think he was on steroids and all the stories of him hiding under the octagon from USADA,
His brother
which are
failing
probably
the
true.
drug test around the same time as
He had
him.
a coach. There used to be a coach in his gym that was fucking selling drugs to like people that got caught for selling drugs to people in like high
Cowboy
school or
exposed
something
that
like
on the
that.
Joe
Yeah.
Rogan podcast. Yep.
So it's just too many coincidences with Jon for you to be like he wasn't on steroids more than at least one fight. So to be honest, I wouldn't have him on the GOAT list. To be honest, I don't really have one person in particular in the GOAT status because I don't like GSP very much, which I might have put him there. And who else would be DC? Yeah, maybe I'll put DC there just to be
Khabib.
Khabib. Honestly, if Khabib beats Tony and Dustin, he has to be in the conversation.
Yeah, in the conversation, but I think if he beats Tony and Dustin, it sets up the GOAT fight with him and GSP. Like, winner's just the GOAT.
Yeah, if Khabib beats GSP, then there's no question.
Yeah.
There's no question. Especially if he does it at a higher weight class, but he's probably going to fight him.
Oh, man. 165, baby.
Yeah, that would be crazy. So
165.
As far as Jon Jones,
let that happen.
Is this a case of him not taking Santos seriously? Because he probably could have made the fight easier had he taken it to the ground.
I'm glad you said. I didn't even bring that up.
Is he back to partying and snorting coke, and then maybe he didn't take the camp seriously?
Exactly. I didn't even bring that up. He just fought to a split decision with a guy on one leg. I didn't even bring that up in my whole case.
Yeah, he could have took him down when he had one leg, but I guess he chose he wanted to stand and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, his boxing is still like after all the time he says he's tried to put in his boxing, it's still bad.
Yeah.
Like DC who has like a 15-inch reach disadvantage with Jon Jones could beat Jon Jones in a boxing match pretty easily. And I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
Ruiz Cormier Jr.
Yeah, because Cormier was hitting this motherfucker with some shit that second fight from boxing.
You recorded it?
Oh, yeah. And
but
man,
like, I understand why people put Jon at the GOAT status since his sustained greatness is something you just don't see a lot in MMA. So
all the way back over there.
All right.
Okay, I'll let somebody else.
We'll go to you next, forward, because I think you're gonna make the case for Jon Jones.
Yeah, quickly because my bottle is getting cold. I'm gonna just open it up now. Obviously, shout out to Jan Blachowicz. Also, while we're at it, shout out to Yoram Romero and the king himself. I'm not gonna call him the GOAT on this panel because obviously it's quite a contentious fight. But obviously he is my GOAT, of course. Left hook Larry, Michael Bisping and stuff, all for getting spectacular KO victories over Luke the Prick Rockhold. So shout out to these guys. I'm gonna open this up right now.
I love it. I love it.
Some Henry Weston for you guys up here. If anybody's watching from Henry Weston, feel free to sponsor the channel, or you can sponsor me directly. My Twitter handle will be in the description of this video.
Yeah, we'll put it there.
Beautiful. So yeah, as I was saying, Jon Jones is the GOAT. Again, obviously with the whole asterisk on him with the drug cheats and shit. Yeah, you know what? If we're gonna take that into consideration, then you can take him out of the conversation. That's perfectly fine. Again, I've been dubbed as the Jon Joe stan of this panel for whatever reason, but if that's the case, so be it. Again, if infamous the words are straight out of my mouth, it's sustained success. Sustained success. When you look at how many times he's beaten top fighters and he's done it over a sustained period, it's absolutely amazing. Again, when you look at the likes of Cejudo, McGregor, Nunez to a degree, yeah, they've done amazing things over a short period of time, going up in weight classes, winning a second, but that's great. That is amazing thing. That's an amazing feat. But for me, true greatness is when you do it over a period of time, and Jones has been able to do that. GSP's been able to do that. Mighty Mouse have been able to do that. And also, one thing that you'll see that correlates between all three of those guys is they've had tough fights against people that you would expect them to beat. Like obviously, remember Demetrius Johnson having a tough time with I think it was Tim Elliott when he almost got choked out in that second round.
Oh yeah.
Like these fights have happened. So they've had fights where they've been heavy
Tested.
favorites and they've been tested. Yeah. So these things will happen. So let's see if Cejudo's able to do it for a sustained period. Let's see if McGregor's able to do it for a sustained period, which he hasn't. Let's see if Nunez is able to sustain it for a longer period. I think she actually might be able to do it, but let's see.
Yeah.
But in terms of Jon Jones, he's been able to do it for a sustained period against top fighters, different body types, and again, amazing fighter. So for me, he is the GOAT. And again, obviously onto yesterday, horrible performance, probably the worst I've seen from Jones. But one thing that you're not really taking into account is he didn't want to engage in the clinch because we've seen that Santos is very effective in the clinch with his short uppercuts, how we caught Mano many times in the short uppercuts. So maybe he didn't want to go for the clinch. Although I feel like that would have been an easier route to victory. But again, he's fighting top guys and these things will happen. And yeah, it wasn't the greatest performance, but I think Fulton's making it out as if he's been hiding away from DC or the heavyweights for a long time. He's only just got back to the UFC this year, and he's fought two guys who are apparently blown up middleweights. The time before that, he fought Gus, which was an amazing performance, finished him in 3 rounds. Before that, he beat DC, finished him in 3 rounds. So you're acting as if he's been hiding away from the tough fights. No, he's not. He's had 2 fights in a short period of time, and they weren't the best performances. But again, what do you want the guy to do? You're saying, oh, he needs to fight Corey Anderson. He's been hiding from Corey Anderson.
I'm not saying he's hiding from Corey Anderson. I just said he's not fighting the most deserving contender.
Nobody's even mentioning Corey Anderson because he's not done enough to get the title shot right now. I think he's 1 fight away, yes, but
you don't have the hype.
To that point yet.
People are mentioning
I don't
Johnny
get this
Walker.
point of you're saying, oh, he's hiding away. He's a coward from these. He's not.
I never said that. No, misrepresenting my argument there again. I never said he's a coward. No. If you want to say he's ducking the fade, if that's what you're saying, I didn't say the word coward. I wouldn't disrespect him like that.
He was ducking the fade.
Ducking the heavyweight fade. I didn't say he's ducking the fade from Corey Anderson ever. Ducking the heavyweight fade by his own words, Daniel Cormier.
But at the same time, I feel like that would be you can make that point and it would be salient if he was doing this for like a year or 2. He's only just come back and he's fought 2 fights in like 4 or 5 months. Let's say if it's 2020 and he's still not moved the heavyweight, then you can make that point. But until
then, I did say, when he knocked out DC,
Luke Rockhold, if he won the fight,
I said when he knocked out DC and
Johnny Walker, Corey Anderson, like you're saying, he wants to fight. Maybe Dominic Reyes if he improves a bit.
All these
fighters that he needs to beat in the 205.
You don't need to beat any of these guys
clean out
yet.
Again, which you already cleaned out. So let's say you be clean.
You don't need to beat Dominic Reyes. You don't need to beat Alexander Rakic for his legacy. You don't need to beat Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker's fun. Sure, I think Johnny Walker's got potential, but he hasn't paid his dues. He's got a lot of hype right now. Johnny Walker's the coolest prospect, but Rakic, Reyes, none of these guys don't even have 15 professional fights yet, let alone wins or losses. They're prospects. They're promising, but I'm not like, oh man, Jon Jones, if he wants to prove he's the GOAT, he's got to beat Rakic. No, that's never crossed anybody's mind either. Corey Anderson, my point with Corey Anderson the entire time is if you want to talk about paid dues in the light heavyweight division, which is where Jon Jones is reigning over, Corey Anderson is the guy that right now is on a winning streak that should be fighting as a light heavyweight. You want to skip him? Sure. I don't think Jon Jones would lose to Corey Anderson. I don't think he's a coward to Corey Anderson, ducking Corey Anderson. I've never once said that. I think what I said is by Jon Jones' own words, he's recently, and I said up until last year, I've always said Jon Jones was one of the GOATs, is the GOAT. I said recently, Jon Jones is ruining his GOAT legacy, his GOAT status to me, not his legacy. He'll always be a legend because, to your point, his sustained period of greatness, he will always be a legend, one of the greatest fighters of all time. But I'm talking about active day right now. Jon Jones' most recent fights and interviews, he's fighting middleweights where he's huge favorites, and he's admitting to. So he's fighting guys that are coming up divisions, but he doesn't want to go up a division to fight Cormier, a guy that he's already beat. Although he's willing to go up and fight a favorable matchup in Brock Lesnar, he don't want to fight Cormier.
And he said he'd fight Stipe Miocic. But then on the flip side, like you said, full time, he calling out Israel Adesanya and shit. You know what I'm saying? I feel like
Israel started running his mouth first.
That's true,
yeah,
but
he replied to Israel. He didn't call out Israel in the first place.
Yeah, Israel running his motherfucking mouth.
Yeah, he's just responding to Israel, but I mean, he's entertaining it. To BJ's point, he is entertaining Israel Adesanya.
Again, let me just make this last point before I move it on to somebody else. You're talking as if he's done something so egregious, so outrageous. But if you look at it in 20 years' time, and he's gone up and he's fought at heavyweight in the year 2020 or 2021. No one's going to say
After-
that, oh, he was ducking or fade up, because again, he's beat DC twice, so there's no real prestige for him to go up and fight DC right now. Like, let him
There
clean out
is
the division,
prestige
and then
right
he moves
now.
up. Wait, let me finish my point. If he cleans out the division now, moves up in a year's time, what's the rush? Again, the guy's 31 years old. He probably wants to fight for another 3 or 4 years. If he moves up to heavyweight now, he probably won't move back down to light heavyweight. So why go now when you can go towards the end of your career, which makes
I'll
more
tell
sense,
you
obviously,
exactly
from a
why.
physical stature and also from a mental stature as well. Like, why would you want to move up now?
I'll
It
tell
doesn't
you
make any
exactly
real
why.
sense, especially when the guy at heavyweight you're moving up to fight is someone you've already beaten twice, and emphatically in the second fight, making him cry both times you fought him. You don't need to move up now.
Yo,
Clean out your
the
division,
first no,
and then
okay.
get to the
Now
point
I'm
where-
interjecting because the
wait,
disrespect
let me finish.
DC.
Get to the
No.
point where- wait,
You're not
let
gonna
me
bring up
let
that
me
DC was
let-
Hold on,
let
let
me
Forward
finish.
finish because he's getting disrespectful. Go ahead, Forward.
Let him get to the point where moving up to heavy makes it such a big fight that they're gonna pay him the millions that he wants for that fight, and it actually makes sense. Why would he move up now when again the guy's already fought? Yeah, it's a big fight, but he's beaten the guy twice.
I'll tell you
Clean out your
exactly why.
division, and then you move up to the point where you're ready to move up. You're prepared for it. You can take let's say like Amanda Nunes, you can take 8 months out so that you can prepare your body physically and mentally, so that way you can go and challenge yourself at the higher weight class.
I don't
Let
think it would
John
take
do
John
that,
that
and then you
long
can say,
with
oh,
the
and if he doesn't
Pecos.
do that in a year's time, then maybe you can say, oh, he's ducking a fade and all this bullshit. Cool. Let's
Okay,
see.
now-
But in the meantime, there's no reason why you can't say he's the GOAT. I don't see it. I said for the whole the drug cheating shit. Yep.
Okay.
Other than that,
Yeah,
there's no reason
that
to say he's
reason.
not the GOAT. Or
As
at least
far
in the
as
conversation.
resume, if you take all the asterisk aside, what he's done so far, sure, I understand the argument for his GOAT status. Like I said, I understand if anyone wants to debate why he's the GOAT. I get where you're coming from, but to the Daniel Cormier thing, first fight before USADA, second fight no contest, failed drug test. So I mean, holding that over Daniel Cormier's head seems a little unfair to me. But if you want to, like I said, I completely understand it. But to your next point, why go now? What's the rush? I'll tell you the exact reason it's a rush. DC was supposed to retire in March. What are you trying to do? Wait him out? Wait until he retires and then move up to heavyweight and start your
Why should he chase
legacy?
after DC, a guy he's beaten twice?
Because DC's legacy is at heavyweight. It's not just chasing DC, it's also chasing the second belt. Now, if you want to say wait for DC to retire till you can get a more favorable matchup and then
No,
go get the belt.
That's not why I said to wait. You're putting words in my mouth. You should
Okay,
wait because
I'm saying
why is it the time for him to wait now? Why
because
should he
DC
go now
could
when he's still
retire
got 3 or 4
after
years
his
left in
next
his
fight.
career? Why go now when you're not
I'll
going
tell
to
you,
be able to go
I'm
back
telling
to
you
light
exactly
heavyweight?
why. The first reason DC was supposed to retire in March. The second reason, the longer you wait, the more fights DC has to take. He's got to fight Stipe Miocic coming up. If he loses that, boom, fight's gone. The third fight everyone wants to see at heavyweight is gone. No, we're not going to get to see it because DC's not the champion anymore. Another reason to move up, win a second belt. That is, in today's day and age, winning a second belt is a part of being pound for pound great. It's not just being Demetrius Johnson, dominating one division your whole life. It's about moving up and challenging yourself and not just fighting guys you're supposed to beat every time we see you.
So I gotta add one more little thing there. Again, your GOAT himself said after he got KO'd viciously in that second fight, said that there's no rivalry here. It's over. He beat me twice. After
He was
the fight, Jon Jones
unconscious
himself
and
said,
didn't know he was on
"Let me finish,
steroids."
let me land. After the second fight, Jones himself said that, yeah, I've closed out the rivalry. Yeah, okay, the drug thing happened after that, but the rivalry was closed at that point. So why did he then at that point need to then chase and feel like, oh, I need to fight the guy again? The rivalry's closed at this point. It's 2-0. He doesn't
That's
need
a big
it. Yeah,
but.
if it comes, it'll be great, cool, great money. It'll be a great story again, but he doesn't need to go and chase that fight.
That's
Not now,
completely
especially when he's
unfair.
still got business to do at 205 in his opinion, and rightly so in his opinion, because he wants to clean out the division a second time and then move up when he's ready towards the end of his career. He's still got 3 or 4 years left, so why would he go and do it now? It makes no sense to do it now.
Makes
'Cause then
plenty
he's not
sense.
gonna go
I
back
explained
down
why
to
he should do it
205.
now because DC don't have much time. He could lose when he fights Stipe. If he fights
Cares about
Ngannou,
DC if you're Jon Jones,
DC
you
could
beat
fight
the guy
Stipe
twice, you
and
made the guy
lose.
cry twice.
DC
Like,
could fight.
what do you need to do to the guy anymore? You don't need to do
I'll tell you.
anything. In his own words,
Let me
he's
tell you.
happy
Let me
to
tell you.
see
I'm
him
gonna tell you why it's completely unfair what you just did to DC. Because for one, before the failed drug test, Joe Rogan said, "I don't want to interview concussed fighters." DC was concussed in there, had no clue what the hell he was saying. So for one, he was concussed. For two, this was before the failed drug test, which is now ruled a no contest. So to just say, "Oh, DC was in there crying and he said there's no rivalry," shit's changed. For one, he was concussed. For two, he failed a drug test. And for three, he's undefeated at heavyweight. For four, Jon Jones is not challenging himself. So I completely disagree with you, and like we can agree to disagree, but
You definitely can.
yeah, just I almost forgot. The last thing I want to say, as far as why it needs to be now, whenever DC fights Stipe, yes, he could win, but he's 41 years old. Any one of these fights, Father Time could catch up to DC. Even if he beats Stipe, what, Jon Jones want to take 8 fights off, fight another middleweight, let's fight Rockich and Johnny Walker. Well, okay, well then what's DC do in the meantime? Fight Francis Ngannou? Now he's 42 years old, so he could slip and make one mistake against Ngannou, knocked out. So the longer Jon Jones, it's not like DC has 5 years to wait for Jon Jones to prove himself, to vindicate his loss in his rightful division with no fucking picograms. DC don't have time like Jon Jones to vindicate himself. So Jon Jones waiting out DC is cowardice. That is ducking the fate. If you're waiting him out, Father Time catches up to everybody. What are you trying to wait for?
I mean,
You're not
that's your
challenging
opinion, but for
yourself.
me, it doesn't. Jon Jones' career, especially at heavyweight, doesn't revolve around DC again. It revolves around when he wants to go up. And for me, it doesn't depend on, I need to go and get DC now. No, I need to go and get the title when I'm ready, whoever the champion is.
Yeah, let's let Ngannou wins,
me,
and then I got a
Jon
better
Jones'
matchup
career does not
against
revolve around
Ngannou.
DC. Maybe the other way around because he has 2 losses, but for me, Jon Jones, it doesn't matter. He can go up whenever he likes.
And can he fail any more drug
Strong
tests?
cosign. Strong cosign.
No, failing the drug testing, that's another debate in itself. But again, hey, obviously, I wouldn't want to see him fail any more drug tests. Again, he kind of got the whole pardon essentially of saying, it was a recurring thing in the system which doesn't affect his performance. That's what, again, the bits he said, that's what they all said, and that's why he was allowed to fight Gustafsson that way, and they produced a great performance. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
So it is what it is. But like I said, there's not much time for DC, and like to your point, he doesn't have to wait for DC. Like he doesn't even have to fight DC at heavyweight. But in my opinion, beating DC at heavyweight is it cements everything. To me, it brings everything full circle. It's DC deserves it. He earned the vindication fight. Jon Jones has embarrassed him now in front of millions of people. Failed the drug test, no contest. But you can't take back the crying on TV. You can't take back all of that shit. And so he's damaged this man's legacy and his career. So it's only fucking right you let that man fight you in a weight class you are interested in a weight class he's undefeated in before he retires. That's all I gotta say. That's my
What I will
closing.
say is everybody in the comments can let us know how they thought the debate went, who won the debate. Obviously that I won the debate, so leave that in the comments, everybody, and I'll move on to
Ain't
Stamina
no
or
beating
anybody else
me in
who
a
wants to jump in.
debate. It don't happen because I spit, facts.
Oh, I just got paid from work. Let's go. Hey, I got down this bottle right now.
Heat. Salute to Jorge One for the $2.99 in the super chat. All right, I'll let everybody else weigh in. I'll go down the line on this debate. I want you guys' thoughts. I'll go to Dennis Espinoza first. What are your thoughts on
I just got paid.
on whether or not do you think it's not whether or not Jon Jones is great? It's do you think Jon Jones owes it to Daniel Cormier to fight him at heavyweight? I'll ask that.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Okay. No, anybody. Fight who you fight. He chooses to fight the weight class to fight in. He has his reasons for not going up. Those are his reasons.
Okay, and I'll ask your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the fact that he's willing to fight guys like Brock Lesnar or winnable matchups at heavyweight, but not specifically Cormier? And Jon Jones's logic is Daniel Cormier would have the advantage at heavyweight. So in my thing is, it sounds like he's not trying to challenge himself.
It's interesting that he has the choice because he shouldn't. He works for the company, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, they're independent contractors, so that's an argument in itself. But
either you do what the company says, or you're no longer an independent contractor, right? Independent contractor is at will, right?
Yeah. Thank you very much for the 99-cent, John Doe. By the way, yes, Dennis Espinoza.
I look at things from a bigger picture. I hope John gets his act together, really, as an individual and a human being. It appears like it sometimes, and then he screws up. Hopefully, he doesn't screw up again. I think the jury's still out on him. I'll see what he does in the next few fights and who he fights and how well that goes. Again, I stay away from labels of great and all that.
Okay.
It's subjective. And I made a comment in Discord. It's funny how people will choose to believe someone's great based upon how they feel, whether they like them or not like them. It's a subjective, it is a subjective argument, but there could be objective criteria developed. If you put objective criteria out there, is what does it do? What does it take to be great? What does it take to be considered one of the greatest of all times? One of them, if you're going to go multiple greatest of all times.
That's a good point.
There could be as far as well-rounded. Well, that's hard because people can have ground game, but they prefer standing up. They could have a great ground game, but they prefer standing up. Chris has a ground game. She's never had to use it or never used it, but she has a ground game. One danger I see in that is if you don't use that ground game in a real fight, then you're sort of tentative to use it, even though it might be good. You're tentative to risk it. But if a person has 4 knockouts and 4 submissions, then you can say objectively they're well-rounded, right?
Yep.
So other than that, everything else is subjective and subject to argument, and a lot of those times those arguments are a waste of time.
All right. Respect your opinion. Thanks for giving us your thoughts on that topic. We're going to move down the line next to Infamous MMA. If you're still here and not at work, what are your thoughts on Jon Jones? What would you like to see Jon Jones do next? Do you want to see him continue to fight at 205? And if so, who? Or would you rather see him move up to heavyweight? And if Infamous MMA is not here, he might be already on to work. All right, so man, I want to go to Genesis. I really want to hear your thoughts, but I think I'm gonna save you for last, so you can close this one out again because man, you closed out the last one so well. The Holly Holm, whether or not she's great. No, I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you. It's just next in line was Genesis, but I think I need to save the best for last. No offense to anybody, I gotta save Genesis to close this out. She closed the last topic out so well. All right, so No Filter MMA. I know you can't wait to give your opinion. Everybody, make sure you check out No Filter MMA's YouTube channel, man. Great WMMA content, great MMA content. Make sure you check him out. And also make sure you guys join the Discord. I put the link in the chat. I mean, everybody you hear on the panel, almost everybody, Dennis, Forward. I mean, pretty much everybody on the panel right now. We have daily conversations over in Discord. It's just like a chat room. I mean, you can talk with your voice or you can talk with text. And it's all day. So make sure to hit the link in the description. Just join the Discord, the full-time family over there. Now we'll go to No Filter MMA.
Mary Thomas is in the stream, so don't leave her out.
Oh, Mary Thomas, I see you in here. What's going on, girl? How you doing?
Hey guys, what's up, everyone? I know I wasn't originally supposed to be in here, but I just thought I'd join.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Wow.
We always have time for you, Mary. Always. You're certified. Certified.
Thanks. Well, I guess Jon Jones doesn't owe it to DC per se. He doesn't owe anyone anything. That's human rights law. But honestly, it would have been much, much better for him if he did, because even though he did beat him on their last fight with a huge finish and everything, yeah, you can say he embarrassed him. You can say it was a spectacular win and everything. But on paper, and they see what happened afterward, you still look like a jackass. Your whole integrity of that fight has been compromised. Pissed hot. So it's kind of bittersweet at that moment. Everyone, before everyone found out that he was dirty again, everything was cool. But now that we see, it's okay, what you really been doing? Because this is not even the first time that you got popped for this shit. And honestly, I don't think he was clean either on the first time. So it's what the fuck are you really doing? What is it that's honestly, it still doesn't look good either way. So I think it'd be better for him. He doesn't have to. And another thing, this whole thing about DC having an advantage, honestly, Jon Jones is still big as fuck. Just because he's the slimmer guy out of the two doesn't mean that he wouldn't be able to handle DC's natural anything, because he's been giving himself advantages on the fucking low anyway. So now he's scared of somebody else gonna have an advantage over him. It just sounds pussy to me. It just doesn't. It's kind of backwards. But no, he doesn't owe him anything. But honestly, he needs to get his shit together.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think I used the wrong word when I say owe it to him, because you're completely right. Nobody owes anyone anything, but I just feel like it would be a good thing to do. But yeah, he doesn't owe it to him. You're completely right. We'll go to you next, No Filter MMA. What are your thoughts on Jon Jones? What do you want to see from him next? Do you want to see him continue to fight these up and comers, these guys like Dominic Reyes, like Alexander Rakic, like Johnny Walker? Which, man, that one's the one I really do even want to see. But I mean, it's the same principle. You know, they're prospects, they're up and comers. I don't really feel like they've paid all their dues necessarily to be legacy fights. So do you want to see Jon Jones fight some of these guys, these up and comers, or would you like to see him move to heavyweight?
No, man, I think Jon Jones, he's a light heavyweight champion. That's where he needs to stay. I'm a big believer in, what I'm saying, fighting in your weight class. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm an old school type of guy. I think the champion should always be fighting people within the weight class. The next best is the way it should go. And whoever's the next best is whoever should be the next to step into the octagon with the champion. So I believe, yeah. So, I mean, if they want to make that super fight with him in DC, so what? I don't think Jon Jones really wants that fight, but the next best in the light heavyweight, that's who's next.
Okay, just number one contender, next man up.
Yep.
Do you have any preferences, or just literally the number one contender? Whoever's got that
really?
spot.
I mean, I know I talked about this the other day on my podcast. I mean, the top five is the top five is unavailable. They've either been beat or they're in another weight class. Mm-hmm. So you gotta start mixing those. That top 10. You gotta start making some fights within the top 10. Reyes is probably next. But then you got Rakic. You got Walker. You got Anderson. You got a few. You got possibly like a Lil Latifi. If he wins a couple more.
Sucks he lost, yeah, man. A lot of the people who like right on the cusp, they just recently lost, like Lil Latifi. I was a little pumped about his chances for a while because he was willing. He got a big win over OSP, and then he was like, "Yo, DC, I want the fight. I'll fight you here or at heavyweight." I respected that. Like, I'll fight you at either weight class.
Yeah. So I feel like Jon Jones just stay where he's at and fight the next best guy. I believe every weight class should be like that. I'm not too big on champs and shit like that. Like that's. I'm used to watching, Strike Force in the early days of UFC, so I'd rather just see the next guy in line get the shot.
Okay, and if that's the case,
the reason why that does make sense is because most of the people, like, their weight classes are very close to each other. Mm-hmm. So whoever can actually make that 10-pound difference, then they don't really mind it as long as their body can handle it. If they are big enough to go up to the next weight class, they can do that. Because
that's exactly what I was gonna. That's what I was about to ask BJ. Because he said he don't like the champ thing and people jump in weight classes. So I was gonna ask you. So on the subject of weight classes, do you think, or would you like to see more weight classes like the 160? So it's easier for guys to go up or be in their natural weight class because up at like 170, it's a 15-pound jump to 185, and then a 20-pound jump to 205. From 155, it's a 15-pound jump to 170, and then lower, it's all 10 pounds. So would you like to see more weight classes?
I feel like we should insert a couple of more divisions, like 165, and maybe that should be like a 190, a 195-pound division. But I don't feel like there should be every single 10 pounds that should be a weight class. I mean, we could insert a couple, but as far anything, I think the jump between light heavyweight and heavyweight, I think that's okay. But some people were rallying for a 225 division, something like that.
Yeah.
I just those guys are big, powerful guys. It is what it is when you get up there.
Yeah, but some big dudes.
I feel like if I had to really say something about a specific weight class, I would like to see 165.
Yeah, I agree.
If you think about it, you can see GSP, you can see Kevin Lee, you can see Khabib, you can see
Masvidal.
Masvidal. You can see Justin Gaethje. You know what I'm saying? You can see a lot of guys at 165. If that would have happened. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So next we'll move to Stamina MC. Mary already gave her thoughts on this subject. We'll go back to her on the next subject. Stamina MC. What do you want to see from Jon Jones? As far as what next from him?
I'm almost exactly the same as BJ. I will quite confidently hold my hand up and say that I almost have super fight fatigue right now. I'm so
Mhm.
fucking bored of it. I'm so bored of it. Guys, I just want to see people just racking up the defenses and pursuing
Actively.
quote unquote greatness in that way. This whole champ mentality, this whole kind of thing that is, you know, embodied no worse than by someone like Henry Cejudo right now, talking about going up to
King
40,
Cejudo.
45 and shit. Like, it's just like, stop it. Everyone's adopting this kind of like Highlander mentality now, whereby if you take out the champion, then you've pretty much just deaded the whole fucking division. It's that no, the champion got there because they deaded everyone so as to get to that point. You don't just beat the champion and that means you're better than all of them in that division. Fight them all, like not just the guy at the top. So in that sense, no. Jon's build and Jon's skill set works at 205. Like whether his opponents have been in 205 for 2 weeks, for 2 years, or for 20 years is not his fucking concern. That's not for him to think about. His only job is to beat everybody that is put in front of him that's trying to take his belt and his legacy and his everything
Everything
away
you ever
from
worked
him.
for, motherfucker.
Yeah, all of that shit. So now when you're actually talking about not doing that and then jumping up 20 whole pounds to be considerably out of sorts against whoever the fuck else, whether it be DC or whether it be Francis, whether it be Brock, whoever, like Jon has actually gone on record and said that if the price is right, he will absolutely do it. However, I feel like if he were to do something like that without the proper thought and care applied to that, you're just going to see another version of Holloway versus Poirier, where someone with a skill set doesn't translate to the higher
Ooh.
weight class. I don't want that for any
The
fight
dirty
ever.
lickings.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that ever again. Like I like Max, I like Dustin, but how that fight rolled out is like this isn't really competitive. Like it just isn't, you know. And so with that in mind, yeah, go up the right way. As much as I gave shit for it at the time, Amanda taking all that goddamn time to go up to 45 paid off in the end because she fucked up Cyborg differently because of it. I didn't like it at the time, but when I saw what she did, it's like, I can't be mad at that because it made sense. It made sense.
And
So,
to that point, it's interesting because whenever people go up the proper way per se, it makes me curious if they can go back down. You know, I mean, Amanda
not
can
really.
clearly, but it's gonna take time.
She had a
Well,
tough weight cut as well.
yeah, she had a hell of the toughest weight cut we've ever seen this time, and
Oh,
that's because
and it's only 10 pounds. You know, if you go up to heavyweight, you
mhm.
you build up, and then you got to drop that 20 more pounds or whatever, maybe even more, because heavyweight, you know, it's 40 pounds up to. So, yeah, when it's 10 pounds, it might even be a little more manageable, maybe even for a Cejudo. But even for Cejudo, it might be tough for him to get back down to flyweight.
And then there's just the basics thing of it just being different for women versus men.
Yep.
The muscular composition, the way that fat is distributed across the body, like the whole having to deal with the menstrual cycle, yada yada yada. There's a whole bunch of variables to consider with women versus men. Like if you try to say to Amanda, you know, go up to flipping 55 and fight Roberta Samad or whatever the fuck else, she's not gonna do that. You know what I mean? 20 whole pounds. Like no, like just no. There's a right way to do things, and if I feel like if Jon is to go up to heavyweight, he shouldn't ever try to go back. That should be like a one-way trip.
Okay.
Once he goes to heavyweight, that's it forever and ever, amen. So in that sense, to have this artificial deadline imposed by dangling the DC carrot around when DC already should have been gone by now, but isn't for reasons known only really to him, like that should not be a motivating factor in Jon Jones ever. Like the same way that I'm saying to you that I don't feel like Chris should go to PFL because the only person for her to fight in PFL is Taylor.
And
no
$1
one
million.
fight. Yeah, fuck the money. Like fuck, I don't care about that. That's even less important.
Yeah.
But like no
for
one
fighters.
fighter, no one fighter should allow any other one individual to steer their ship in that sense. So John
Okay.
should do nothing according to what DC has or hasn't done. Irrelevant.
Okay, I like that point. No, they shouldn't let one fighter steer their ship. But I will say this, because to Forward's point earlier, he talked about the Rakic's, the Johnny Walkers, and these guys that are making a name for themselves. And my thing is, so what legacy fights are there for Jon Jones? And I bring up those guys because if you say, okay, well, there's some new fresh blood around that he could clear out. Okay, so once he fights Rakic and Reyes and Johnny Walker and maybe even Corey Anderson, there's going to be new fresh blood then. So when do you ever make the jump to heavyweight? I feel like now is the best time, and even if it's not letting Daniel Cormier steer your ship, I just feel like there's not really anything left for him at light heavyweight. He's got a light heavyweight legacy.
Well, guess what? Your opinion doesn't matter to Jon Jones.
I mean, that's fair, but it's not just my opinion. I mean, what is your answer for that? What is your answer
my
to
opinion doesn't matter to Jon Jones either. That's the thing. No one's.
Okay, what do you think his logic is? Like, I get that. But to that point, well, then we shouldn't be having a conversation about anybody because none of our opinions matter to them. Like, we shouldn't talk about Holly Holm and we shouldn't talk about Nunez and because our opinions don't matter to them. So, but we're just here trying to find the logic. What do we think is best? And we've given our points, but my thing is, what do you think is left for Jon Jones? Who do you think is left for Jon Jones? I mean, when do you think he should go up to heavyweight? Is it one fight, two fights? Is there a certain person he should beat before he moves up? Is it after DC retires?
I think that's pretty fucking arbitrary. I just think that it's entirely down to what those other fighters do with their time and with their competition while they're in active competition. It's like if everyone that you've just named ends up losing in their next fight, then all of a sudden none of them look as appealing as they did before, but you still have to pick one of them because that's who's there. Because
so
that's all there is.
The guy
in
that
division.
beats them becomes the new fresh face, the new prospect. Like, let's say,
which might be inappropriate because they still might not have the actual track record over time and the sustained greatness that we've been talking about and shouting over each other.
And I feel like that's the case now with those guys. They don't have a track record or sustained greatness.
You're welcome to think. We don't even know.
It's on paper. It's not even thing. Like, if you go to Alexander Rakic's record, I mean, if you just asked it, I'll ask anyone in here. Aside from Jimmy Manuwa, who has Rakic fought? Anybody? I mean, how many UFC fights does he have? I can say that with Dominic Reyes. I mean, these guys are not established to the point where if I bring up their names, nobody can give me a history on those guys.
You don't need to do that. That hill, I'm not going to die on. I'm not.
I don't think anybody in this chat. So I think
no, we're not doing that. There's no need for that.
Even hardcore fans, those guys are new to. So I mean, those guys. Like, yeah, Jon Jones could just stay at light heavyweight forever. So yeah, all right. I want to go to the last person.
All it is, as I said to fairly towards the start of this, I'm done. I'm pretty much done now. But all it is if they cut Jon the check, he will do it. It's no more complicated than that. Because unless there is a money motivating factor for him to put himself through that of making that one-way trip up there, because it really would be fucking stupid to come back after he goes up. If they cut him the check, he will do it. And then whatever happens after that is that. That's all it is. If they're not going to cut him the check, then he'll just take what he's given and just go for the record.
I hear that.
The 20-time
it's like the
blah,
sense
blah,
of
blah.
Yeah, I hear
That's
that.
what it is.
If it's strictly about the money, that makes sense. Like let's say I get paid the same amount to fight Thiago Santos that I would to go up and fight DC. Well, then clearly I'm just gonna fight Thiago Santos. So that makes sense if it's just the money. But I feel like there would be an incentive for Jon Jones to fight. I mean, he might get pay-per-view points to fight these guys and not care about selling. Because if you want to make it about the money, let's say you get pay-per-view points. You'll sell more pay-per-views against Cormier than you will against Anthony Smith or Santos. So if it is about the money, I feel like there's even an incentive to fight DC, even if it's not a flat rate. But like I said, it's debatable. It's speculation. I mean, it's what's the word? Subjective. So it's just a debate. So that's fair. I want to get Genesis Green's thought on
Wait, can
John
I just
Bones
quickly
Jones.
interject to say, I
Yeah,
know we want
yeah,
to go to Genesis. I want to quickly just interject to say one point. Yeah, we brought up the who. Obviously, that's an important factor in terms of who Jon Jones wants to fight at the weight divisions. Also, we brought up money as well. And someone makes a great point. Doesn't matter what we think, it matters what the fighter thinks. And I've listened to pretty much every single Jon Jones interview.
Baby,
He's talked about legacy a lot, and in terms of like he wants to break all these records. So in terms of having the most title wins in the division, being the most dominant champion, these are things that he's talked about. Getting to 20 title wins. That's what he aims to do. So he wants to aim to do that in his division, which he's comfortable at already. So again, no matter who he comes,
wants like 20
that's literally what he
title
said. That's what he said. Literally in I think on ESPN interview, I think with Brett Okamoto, he said literally, I want to get to 20 championship wins. That's the record he wants
what
to
is
set.
he at? I mean, I haven't heard that
He's
goal.
like 13
I
or
mean,
14.
that's a fair goal. That's a fair goal.
Yeah.
Title
So, like, that's the goal that he
title
wants to
wins.
get
Okay,
to.
title wins. Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, I like that. That's a new angle, and I actually kind of like that. You know, putting your name in the record books. You know, kind of like, yeah. I have never heard him say he wants like that specific number, 20 title wins. But that would make this make way more sense. If you're trying to rack up wins to break a record, this makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, it's
You know,
DJ
if you're just trying to,
DJ moved up to 135 a long time ago, but he said no, I want to break Anderson Silva's record of getting the most title wins, and he did that.
Well,
So,
yeah, then that makes all of this make sense, because then that's why you're not in a rush to challenge yourself, because you have your mindset on breaking this record. It's like Floyd Mayweather. He's trying to get to 50-0. He's not going to fight Lomachenko. He's going to fight Berto. You know, he's going to fight McGregor. He's not going to, he's got a goal. Okay, so now that I hear that, Jon Jones is just trying to break that record. Like, now I understand why he's doing it, but I still do feel like he's not challenging himself. But yeah, I do now that makes sense why he's doing it. But yeah.
Hey, real quick, I gotta go. I just want to say good night, and y'all have a good week.
All right, thanks for having on the panel, Dennis. Good to talk to you.
Appreciate you, Dennis. Much love, man.
Peace out, Dennis.
Bye, Dennis.
All right, Genesis. So I gotta ask you this question, and then after this, we can get closing thoughts on everybody. I'll ask you this, Genesis. What do you want to see next from Jon Jones? Would you like to see him break that record, which is his goal? Which now we know his goal is to break that record. So would you like to see him keep fighting these light heavyweights that we kind of feel like he's supposed to beat, or do you want to see him go the route of kind of challenging himself and maybe fight DC before DC retires at heavyweight?
Honestly, just looking at it from all points, I just feel like he should do both. And doing both is very possible and feasible. He can beat 2 more people than go up.
Yep.
Whip DC ass 1 more time.
Is he at 18 right now?
Because then,
Is he at 18 title fights right now? Because you said beat 2 more people then go up. Would that be breaking the record?
No, he's at 14 right now, which
Okay,
is level for the record, but he wants to get to 20.
Okay, I thought Genesis was saying like break the record, then go up. Okay, but I thought he might be closer than that.
He still could break the record. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is he can whip 2 more people ass, go up, beat DC ass for the 3rd time so everybody can shut the fuck up, go back down, break the record, and, just stay on the path. I mean, because even, I don't give a fuck what nobody talking about. Even if he do go up, the results is going to still be the same for the same way.
You don't know that, Genesis. You don't know that, Genesis.
Get
Wait, boy, shut your stupid ass up.
Hey, let the lady finish, man.
Shut your punk ass up. No, but
I love Genesis. That's my wife.
But seriously though,
You love her, but you don't respect her.
Y'all don't understand that it's like when you fight somebody, whether it's you cheating or whatever, you have a piece of their soul. So you know, whipped his ass twice. How you think the 3rd time gonna play out? Especially if you put on more weight and then you was dominating him the first 2 fights. Fuck what y'all talking about. He gonna get his ass whooped a 3rd time and he's gonna cry. So, so whether he goes up to fight him now or wait or later, it's gonna be the same results. He already got a piece of that man's soul. I mean, what the fuck are y'all talking about? Fuck out of here.
Okay. Well, respect the Genesis. Respect the Genesis. I hear you. I mean, that's. What are your thoughts on Jon Jones failing the drug test though? DC being undefeated at heavyweight.
The picogram shit. That's like what? Like a little piece of a pill.
No, it's like it's actually like a
It's a
Olympic.
microscopic
It's
amount.
actually like a piece of salt chopped into 3,000 pieces in an Olympic-sized
Oh my
swimming
god.
pool.
Baby, look, I ain't no scientist, but I'm very intelligent, and that shit ain't giving you no type of leverage on nothing. So if that's all people want to hold on to, fuck them. Better
Okay.
move on with it, hold on to it, whatever. Keep going. It's not taken away from his abilities. He's an amazing fighter. Has he fucked up and done stupid shit? Yeah, but hasn't other people too? But I think it's being held more on him because it's an African American man that's doing it.
Genesis
That's fair.
Y'all don't expect that, and I'm speaking real, and I don't give a fuck.
No, that's completely
It's
fair.
the
The
truth.
MMA fan base is predominantly white. I don't think it's a
Yep,
racist thing. I
course,
think it's just people root for
of
their
course.
own. And the fact that there are more white fans than black fans, there are more people that root against Jon Jones than for him. I think that's got, just natural. I don't think it's nothing wrong with that. I think that's right.
I mean,
But
look at
But
how
I'm
they
saying,
drug Cyborg.
full time, what I'm saying is that me being an African American woman and knowing what kind of weight is being put on him. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not making it personal towards you, but I'm saying for me to speak on it from this side of the world and knowing how our race is viewing him and trying to make him out to be and all this and that when it's other people of other races that have done far more worse shit. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, man, Jon Jones, regardless of color, man, he's racking it up. He's racking it up, man.
Yeah, he
I mean,
is.
you gotta go down the list. I mean, I'd like to wait and hear somebody name another person that's got the rap sheet of Jon Jones from start to finish, regardless of who they are. I mean, you'd have to
The
start
same.
naming people's spouses. Like maybe Andrea Lee's husband's a piece of shit completely, but the other fighters, like, till you go and find somebody that's fell in multiple drug tests, getting in trouble for the hit and runs, doing the snitching, getting special treatment. There's not many people, man. Some people could even argue Jon Jones gets special treatment, which you wouldn't think he would because he is black. If
Yeah.
but that's
He's
I
a
that's
got
an
a
cash
question.
argument.
cow.
I do
He's a
think
cash
stuff's
cow,
held
though.
more against him, though. I do completely agree with that. I think.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
I don't know. You could finish.
I was gonna say I
I got a
do
question.
think Jon Jones. I do think if he were, let's say, just white per se, there would be less people on his neck. I do think that
Exactly.
he would be less of a meme. Less jokes would be made. I'll say that. I
Uh,
completely agree with that.
Because
but
think about look at the
one
TJ
thing
Dillashaw
I
situation.
one
Exactly.
thing
No
I
filter. Good point.
The TJ Dillashaw situation has faded on into the wind.
of
You know,
course.
it's faded on into the wind.
And now, just to also be fair, TJ didn't have the hit and run, didn't have the snitching, didn't he
True.
still didn't have the rap sheet of Jon Jones. But no, I do still think TJ would have got more heat had he not been white, 100%.
Like if it was Demetrius Johnson that failed a drug test. Oh
Oh
my God.
my God, he would still be a joke. There'd still be jokes.
Or let's say Tyron Woodley for that matter, and when he was a
Nope,
champion. Oh my
100%.
God, that would have
Never
him.
would have lived it down. Never. So no, there's definitely something to that. What were you gonna say, Mary Thomas? Though.
All right. So all fan prejudice aside, then excluding all the racial prejudice and fans sticking up for their own and shit, then who really fucked up worse? Was it Jones or McGregor?
That is a good case. I mean, because McGregor. No, that's a great point. McGregor's done some crazy foul shit.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's. I mean, I don't even know if you're talking about like the alleged like sexual assault out
Yeah.
overseas. Like that's even something that I think maybe if he were not white, that would have probably got blown way more out of proportion.
Yeah, and then he paid that girl off. I heard he paid
I don't.
off.
Yeah, see, it's so hush hush, and yeah, no, that's to the point. I think that would have been front page news. You would have known every
Dana White
detail.
helped him.
You know what?
What?
That's even worse than hitting somebody. You raping a motherfucker and paying them off.
And we don't know,
You
if
know
he
what I'm
raped
saying?
her 100%. Like,
I
so
mean,
it's alleged,
that's
but
what
yeah,
she
no,
said.
that is worse than a hit and run 100%.
That's what she said.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, I don't even got all the details, so that's why I was wondering if you were talking about that too, because there's
Now
so
that's
little
worse.
details out in the public.
I'd rather you hit me with a car and drive off than to sexually assault me and then everybody else, even even your country is behind you, and y'all pay me off to shut up. Really?
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's the Dolly thing. I mean, he's done some crazy shit.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's why I asked, like, including every single thing that you guys can ever remember that either of them has done, like, which one, like, would have a worse rap sheet? Like,
Yeah, it's
which,
gotta be.
like,
It's gotta be McGregor.
On
It's
paper,
not
it's got to
close.
be
erase
Conor.
off
It's
the face
not
of
close.
It's not close. It's McGregor.
It's not
It's
close.
not
It's
close. It's not.
100% Conor.
It's
Conor
not.
on paper is a piece of shit. Like,
He
Yep. And
is.
don't forget that.
yeah,
And
Like, I
don't
was
forget
thinking
that.
about it. I've never thought about it until Mary asked it like that. Like, oh my god.
yeah.
Like,
I've never thought of that. I was like, wait, what's that question? It's like, oh, actually.
oh god,
Yeah.
Connor's been fucking up, hasn't he?
Don't forget about them people on the bus that he's paid off.
Yeah, man. I mean, no, that's a great point, Mary Thomas. Conor McGregor.
And Chiesa
John
still can't
Jones
get
got
that
into,
check.
and see, like, people hold that car accident against Jon Jones like he knew the chick was pregnant. Like, oh, you got in a wreck with a pregnant woman. Like, he was driving and seen the chick was pregnant. Was like, oh shit,
And to put his foot on the pedal, yeah. It's like,
let me try and hurt that
GTA.
baby. Like, boom. Like, no. He got in a hit and run and knew the situation and had to go. Like, he didn't even know the chick was pregnant. I've been in situations like that. No insurance, tap somebody's car. I know nobody's hurt.
You might have
100%.
bro.
100%. When I was like 18, 19, I've never drove with insurance. I just got insurance when I got my promotion. Hey, I'll tell you guys, insurance is I saved a lot of money on my car insurance by never paying that shit. I'll tell you that.
Right now, my nigga.
You know what? Full time.
I saved a lot of money on my car insurance by never paying that shit. I got Geico beat. I'm telling you.
Oh my
Allegedly.
god!
Allegedly.
Delete this fucking stream. My god.
No, man. That's where I come from, man. Car insurance is not when it comes to electricity, water, car insurance. Car insurance is the first to go every time. Every time. So I hear what,
every single time.
every time.
You know what? Full time. I just want to be done. That's it. I just want to be done.
Okay.
Full-time DUI.
Hey, no DUIs. No DUIs. I'm one of the only people I know that hasn't lost their license. So
I haven't got a DUI.
And I even drink. Don't fuck around.
Speaking of DUI, man, Desmond Green. Whew, no, we're not gonna
go there. He's finished.
He's done.
He's big finished. Like,
it's crazy. You can like go back and watch his fights and just imagine his prison stint. Like he's good in there. Like, but he's probably like you.
No, you're swinging every day, bruv.
Oh,
you're getting like about half an hour.
He's probably running the joint though,
and you're swinging every day.
People ain't gonna fuck. To be fair, there's not that many people that are gonna challenge a UFC fight. Like, there's gonna be some people.
Why not?
Well, there's gonna be some people that are like, okay, he thinks he knows MMA. Bro, I'm the alpha dog.
Yeah, cool. You got.
But a lot of people are just big for show. There's a lot of people that are just big for show, bro, and they know someone that's really skilled will fuck them up.
I dare you. Go on.
Yeah, not 10 at once. Like, yeah, he can get jumped, clearly. But still, like, the shot callers in prison, they would love to have him on their side. Like, no, you're my guy. Like, yeah, we could fuck you up, but why don't you, like, join us, dog? Like, we'll give you all the soups. We'll give you all the shop. Like, you're good in here. You are good. I think he's good in there.
Little fast track to the commissary.
Unless he gets jumped every day. Yeah, I think he's good. but either way, like, it's like craziness. But yeah, no, so we'll go to closing thoughts. I know everybody's ready to get out of here. We've been on here for a long time. We'll go to closing thoughts, and we'll just go down the line with everyone that's left forward. You're on my farthest on the left, so I'm going to start with you forward. Let's get your closing thoughts on anything MMA related or even non-MMA related. Hashtag Go Clippers. Just kidding.
Hey, Kawhi Leonard, shout him out. But yeah, definitely. I always want to start off with saying, obviously, I appreciate everybody in the panel, obviously, full time for obviously bringing us all on. Everybody here, obviously, I love the insight, the back and forth. It's all great banter. So obviously, it's great coming on. Obviously, I'd love to come on again soon as well. So great stuff. Closing thoughts. There's a lot of things I could talk about. Stylebenders fight coming up. Potentially Usman versus Masvidal. There's a lot of shit I could talk about, but to keep it brief, I'm gonna say the Masvidal KO, man. I have to say, because I've not been buzzing like that from a KO since probably Ngannou over him, or just any finish probably since Demetrius Johnson's flying armbar. So, because man, that shit was crazy, man. And even just to see their post like fight reactions to it, obviously the mocking him, which again I'm all for. Like, come on, if you're gonna talk shit on Twitter and in person and not keep that same energy, then boy, give the guy the shit after the fight when you knock him out in 5 seconds. Then boy, so I'm all for it. So I fucking loved it. Masvidal's probably one of my favorite fighters now. Just from that, even before that, he was a favorite of mine. But that put him over the top for me, man. I fucking love that shit. So yeah, the man of the moment right now, Masvidal, 100%. And yeah, he needs to fight for a title next, no doubt. Whether it's interim, undisputed, he's getting a title shot.
100%. All right, we'll move on to Genesis next. We're gonna get your closing thoughts. You're next in line. What do you want to close with tonight? Do you have anything coming up or anything we've talked about tonight you want to close with?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe we'll come back to you at the end, and that's usually when you shine. So we'll come back to you at the end. How about you, Mary Thomas? Do you have anything you want to close? What are your closing thoughts? Any upcoming fights or fights over the weekend that you want to close with talking about?
Maybe not this weekend, but on Josh versus RemovedLizaard. Let's go!
Ooh.
Sorry. Man, let's go.
Let's
Jean is a
fucking
swole-ass
go,
Asian
man.
fighter. Andrade is a swole-ass Brazilian. 2 swole-ass ladies going at it. Let's fucking
little
go.
fucking tanks, little lady tanks. Okay.
Lee about to beat that ass.
Oh my God! What am I hearing?
Listen, Whaley got a gas tank on her. I don't know what you talking about.
Oh
She
shoot!
gonna
No,
play through
it's
like
gonna be
2
crazy.
rounds
She's
and
gonna
then
mess around and win.
Andrade is just gonna step through on that ass. I don't care what you say.
I mean, Andrade is my girl, but I mean, still, it's not like I look at Andrade like a Jon Jones in the sense I don't think she'll never be beat. So I mean, she could be beaten. And Weili Zhang, man, she
can. She can. Like in the first part, like it's an equal fight for both of them. 2 rounds. But what I'm saying is I don't think Zhang has the same endurance and perseverance as Andrade does. So that's slowly going to take place between the 3rd and 4th round.
Yep, 5-round fight, deep waters. But I'll say this, I mean, Andrade, her everyone, if you would say one of her weaknesses is probably a jab, and she's really got to get close to get her hands on girls. Weili Zhang being a little tank, man, I wouldn't be surprised if Andrade can't eat too many shots from Weili early in the fight, because that's when an upset could happen.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I put it 50-50 at first, but then I put it 60-40 because I saw Weili tire out against somebody. I don't know who it was, but she started to slow down. And when you slow down against Andrade, that's like the biggest mistake ever. So
Tisha.
just waiting to see what happens.
She slowed down a little bit towards the end of the Tisha fight, just a little bit.
Yeah, a little. But see, you can't do that against Andrade because she's always coming at you.
Curtains for her if that happens, yeah.
And that's my point.
All right. Well, actually, I'm glad that's the most hyped I've got about that fight since it was announced. I mean, it's been a minute with everything going on, man. You just got me hyped for Jessica Andrade versus Weili Zhang a little bit. I wasn't even thinking about that fight as much. Like, it was announced. I was like, okay, this kind of came out of nowhere. But now that I'm actually thinking about the matchup more, that's going to be fun, man. That's going to be fun. All right, No Filter MMA, we're coming to you next. What are your closing thoughts? He's going to have some wild stuff. Make sure you guys check out No Filter MMA, man. If you enjoy wild content, good MMA content, fighter interviews, check out No Filter MMA. What are your closing thoughts?
What Genesis? What Genesis?
Fuck BJ.
She said, "Fuck BJ."
Dude, that's how Genesis treat me, y'all. Y'all get to see it firsthand. You know what I'm saying?
He's like, that's how you know she loves me.
I'm just trying to be your chubby boo.
What you telling them?
Yeah, someone's in a doghouse right now.
But anyway,
Brittany Miles was your boo.
All y'all my boo. You too, Mary.
Whatever.
BJ, you got it like that, yeah.
Got it like that.
You know what, BJ? I'm KOing your ass when I see you.
Oh, snap. You need to see that. I'm putting it on the channel.
He might like that, Genesis. You don't even know.
I'll take it.
I hope you got some good head movement.
Speaking of head movement. Speaking of head movement, did you
out.
guys see Edmund Tarvarian and his new prospect? That actually looks really good.
A new undefeated prospect.
Yeah. Edmund was in his corner. He might have him.
How much credit can Edmund take for that, though?
Did y'all see the look on his face when he was standing out the gun? He was like, "I'm back, motherfucker."
Yeah, he was just looking like, yeah, man.
Like, y'all know what this is.
Oh my god.
Anyways, guys, this is my closing thoughts, man. My closing thoughts, man. 239 was a damn good card. 239 was something that we needed because we didn't have a rush of bum cards. But you got to give MMA, a thumbs up all around, because not only is the UFC putting on good stuff, Bellator is putting on a hell of a cards. You know what I'm saying? One Championship is putting on good cards. PFL is putting on good cards. This PFL tournament style shit that they doing, man, I'm fucking loving this shit. I'm loving it. You know what I'm saying? It's just, MMA, it's a good time to be an MMA fan right now.
100%.
But, I'm going to be honest, Miesha Tate is a GOAT. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to throw that out there. Miesha Tate is a GOAT.
Cut him off.
I wish I knew how. I don't know how to mute people on here. That would be a handy option. I wouldn't have did it.
But let's give it up to Amanda Nunez, though, guys. Sure. We all knew what was going to happen. Deep down, we knew Amanda Nunez was going to get Holly out of there one way or another.
I knew.
You know what I'm saying? So
that's never any doubt.
I mean, Amanda Nunez was one of the most hated champions at first. I mean, we have really watched Amanda Nunez go from being a champion that nobody really cared about to a champion that a double champion that everybody's talking about. So, like I said, guys, it's a good time to be an MMA fan, and I'm eating up every minute of this, man. And I appreciate Full Time letting me come on and talk shit with y'all, because that's what I do best.
Yeah, no, you just made something that made me think of something, and I just lost the dang thought. Hopefully I'll come back to it, man. There's something you just said that. What did you just close with? I'm sorry, I'm high. I'm having a.
I said, we watched about how we watched Amanda Nunez go from a champion that somebody.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It was crazy. In the fight, that crowd went Holly. Like, I was surprised, because Amanda Nunez just came so far. But even in this fight, the crowd, they had a Holly chant, which kind of surprised me. I don't think there'll be no more Holly chants anymore. Like, I think it's going to be Nunez from here on out. But, man, until she head kicked, hopefully the next time Nunez fights, no matter where it is, there will be a damn Nunez chant.
Yeah, man, people just don't. I mean, I guess because Nunez is taking out a lot of favorites, man. I mean, she took out Ronda Rousey. She took out Miesha. And when she took out Miesha, she got a lot of enemies for beating up Miesha like that. Then she got a lot of enemies for beating up Ronda like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Then now she got
Cyborg Nation
got
on her head.
a shitload of haters from Ronda Rousey. I mean, from beating up Cyborg, and now she just beat up the beloved, the princess of the UFC.
So that's interesting. I wonder how that works. Because she's beat up everyone's favorite fighter. So now does everyone love her, or do they low key root for her to lose?
I think it's kind of like the Jon Jones effect. You know what I'm saying? Like Jon Jones beat up all the greats and beat up all the favorites. Now, there's like this push, everybody's going to beat Jon Jones. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's going to be the next person is the best person. You know what I'm saying? So they just waiting on that moment to see, like Ronda Rousey. Everybody's waiting on that moment. When you get to that big point, and Conor McGregor as well, when you get to that certain point of status.
I think Jon Jones, that was a great example, because he's a guy that you don't really see him losing. So technically everybody's an underdog. But people are still kind of waiting on it because
they're waiting on him to lose.
Yeah,
and they thought this was the moment. They thought this was the moment with Holly Holm, but I never once had any inkling that Holly Holm was the one to beat Amanda Nunez. But I'm just ready for I'm ready for the next card, guys. 240. 240
the next card is actually Ladd versus
I was about to say I was about to say there's a fight night in there somewhere.
Yeah,
but
GDR versus Ladd is coming up next weekend.
GDR is gonna beat the shit out of Aya.
She gonna beat the shit out of Ladd.
It's going to be messy.
You guys must have not watched Game of Thrones.
Dude, listen, Jermaine
Everybody
Durandame does not get the credit.
She gonna beat the fuck out of Arya.
Yeah, she don't get the credit she
There's no
deserves.
way you guys are talking like this against Arya Stark if you watch Game of Thrones.
I know,
No,
man.
but
I
you
know
know
she
what,
looks
that's
like
who-
Arya. I
that's
know
who
she
she
looks
look
like
like.
Arya
The
Stark.
Night
But
King. She beat the Night King, guys. Like,
I
But
know
the Night
she did,
King's a
but
bitch,
but
man.
guess
Let's just
what?
be real.
But this is real life. She trash. Her hand's not that good. GDR finna text that ass.
I don't
yeah,
know
she
how
getting
real
to beat
this is.
that
I mean,
ass.
I think this is real life Arya Stark. So I mean, we'll see.
Nah,
We'll see.
wait. So why she wasn't Arya Stark when she was fighting Sarge? Sarge beat the fuck out of her.
Game of
She
Thrones wasn't
did.
Game of Thrones. She hadn't killed the Night King yet.
It don't matter.
I mean, was the Night King really an elite win, though? Really? Like, that wasn't an elite win.
No.
I didn't
Nah.
care about Aspen Ladd before Arya
Oh,
Stark was the
so he was
baddest
good,
bitch
but
on
not
the
great,
planet.
right? Forward.
Yes, exactly. Good, but not truly great.
But man, I'm telling you, a lot of people sleep on GDR, man. Like a fight I wanted to see with GDR was GDR versus Cyborg. Would have been a hell of a fight. It would have been a hell of a fight because GDR striking is top level, top notch. Like that's one thing. That's one thing you can't fault GDR for her striking. Her striking is top notch striking. So
Oh yeah.
she gonna get in there and beat. She gonna turn Aspen Ladd face into pizza.
She better
You
hope
know what?
Aspen
I
Ladd don't
think
have
I know who
her
Holly
dagger.
next opponent gonna be.
What you say, Genesis?
I said I think I know who Holly next opponent finna be. Since she got 5 more fights on her contract, I know
Who?
I got the perfect person for her.
Who?
My sister.
Who's that?
What?
Who's your sister?
My sister, my friend cousin Gano.
Okay.
Oh, come on. Cat doesn't deserve that.
Okay.
What? Cat doesn't deserve that. Wait a minute. Cat doesn't deserve somebody who's 3 and whatever in her last few fights or whatever.
2 and 5.
Henderson,
2
Cat's on
and
her way
5.
for a title shot. What are you talking about?
Cat Zingano get in there and beat Holly Holm ass.
But you know what? Holly got 5 more fights on her contract, so she might as well fight her, right? She might as well fight her.
She might as well fight her, yeah. But you got people like Yana Skaya. You got people in that division that's on their way up.
Yeah, but her and Kat, they right next to each other. So,
Yeah, they right next to each other. You right.
So she might as well go ahead and get that ass beat.
Ay.
Think about it. Kat go grab that bitch and slam that motherfucker so hard.
Genesis, you so wild, man.
But you know what? I'm real and I'm honest and I'm upfront.
No, and that's what Genesis spits the truth, man. I mean,
but think about it. Holly could try that shit that she pulled with Nunez. You know how her and Nunez was grappling and she got away from Nunez. You're not gonna be able to do that with Kat because Kat gonna grab your ass and you on the ground.
Yes. Oh yes.
There's that, but as we saw from Kat's last fight, Kat is no longer defensively responsible.
Oh, here we go.
Kat is going to drink some fucking kicks. Like,
oh god.
You know,
Kat been training in Thailand too.
No, dude. Let's be clear. This is not shade. Like, I love Kat. I worry about her. Like, I like Kat. I want Kat to fight someone like Betchka Haya. Just stay fat. Fight someone that's not really dangerous, and just make your money and feed your baby. I don't want to see her get fucked up. Like,
so you saying you think Holly gonna fuck up?
With kicks, yeah. Look, if Megan can touch her that much, Holly can definitely touch her. Megan Anderson is not a striker like that, but Kat took way more damage from Megan Anderson than she even needed to. There were so many times that Megan hit her that didn't need to happen.
Dude, she didn't get hit. She only got hit by Megan after the toe had already been in the eye.
Yeah. So what the?
Yeah, she didn't get pummeled. She didn't get pummeled by Megan Anderson. She got kicked. She landed like 3 leg kicks on Megan, and then the toe went in the eye. That was it. And then Megan landed some body shots after Kat was curled up against the cage.
Yeah, and that don't count.
She didn't take a whole lot of damage. The last fight that Kat took a lot of damage in was the Ketlin Vieira fight.
Oh,
and even with that, she broke Ketlin Vieira ribs. That's what everybody forgot.
Okay, yeah, okay, I'll walk that back. I will. I'll walk that back.
Thank you. So again, who the fuck is this guy? In my Conor McGregor voice, who is this guy?
Man, I
Oh
got Holly
shit.
Holm. That's all I'm saying. She's great.
Well,
No, full circle. No.
I'm not even saying that Holly would win. I'm just saying that because I like Kat, I actually want to see something like a squash match. I just want to see Kat fuck someone up. And I don't think that is Holly Holm. I want to see her fuck someone else.
She fucked Marion Renault up.
What are you talking? Yeah.
She fucked the shit out of Marion Renault, bro.
That's a reach. That's a reach.
How is that a reach? Did you see
How was that a reach?
Shit, what? No one got fucked. Marion made some bad decisions in there that made her lose the fight. She didn't get fucked up.
You know
She
what?
got fucked up.
You just want to be done?
No, I just don't want to be done. You a non-motherfucking factor right now.
Okay.
You know what? I'm just gonna walk it off. How about that? I'm just gonna walk it off. Oh god.
Okay,
Yeah,
man.
I'm gonna come to my rescue, my boy Stamina quickly. Yo, while I remember, I don't know if Genesis has got like a closing thought, but let me ask you because it just come to my attention that you actually fight MMA amateur. So like, I just want to know like your background in it, your record, and obviously how you got into it. So
who you
yeah,
talking to? You talking to me?
yeah, I'm talking to you. Tell us about your
You
MMA
don't see
record.
him with the shirt off, man. He's trying to holler.
Whoa, yo, it's 3 o'clock at night. I'm steaming because I've been
Yo,
vaping all
full
night.
time, you
I got a
wild
little
as
hot box
fuck.
going on here, so I'm just trying to ask. I ain't trying to move to anybody, yo. It ain't like that. I ain't got a visa for America yet, so I
He's
ain't
trying to
I
get
ain't
to
trying
know
to
you,
fly
Full
over.
Genesis.
time, wild as
No,
fuck.
no, it's a good question though. It is a really good question though.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
Wait,
I'm genuinely interested.
wait. So ask me again. You say what is my martial arts background?
What
Yeah,
got
so
you
like,
into
what's your
MMA?
record? Like, what got you into it, and just like, what are your interests in it? Like, how
Well,
far do you want to go?
well, actually, I don't do MMA. I'm a boxer.
Okay.
Okay.
With MMA, 145 for me is just it's unrealistic for me. I'm too thick. I am too thick of an African American woman. I can't make 145. I'm sorry, I can't.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
I'm too
Nothing
thick.
wrong with that.
But but I am a super middleweight boxer. But
What is
my
that?
back,
I don't know boxing weight classes. So what is
yeah.
that like?
Okay,
150?
so super middleweight is 168, and
Okay.
I fight
Okay.
middleweight, which is 160.
Okay.
But my background did start with martial arts. I'm a third degree black belt in Taekwondo. I
Okay.
took kickboxing, wrestling, judo. I mean,
Well,
I'm
damn.
good at a lot. I'm good at a lot of shit, but I can't make the weight class requirements. So until they,
Yeah.
come up with some more shit, you're not finna kill me because I'm too thick for that. Sorry.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, I'm too big. I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't. I just want to be done.
Oh man, it's coming. It's coming, man. They ain't gonna stop at 145, man. More and more, women get
I
into
know.
MMA, and
I know.
if
Cause
if
I
there
think
was
the
10
next
Genesis, then there'd be a weight class right now, or you know what I'm saying. There's gonna be more. There's gonna be more and more girls that get into MMA.
Cause even as I think about it, even 155 is a stretch for people like me that walk around as heavy as I do. So I think if they make one more from 155, like let's say they do
Yep.
165, then it's a go. Then I'm finna run through everybody.
Boom.
I'm gonna run,
Exactly.
I'm gonna run through everybody at 165. If they make a 165 weight class,
Man.
I will be the first one to start knocking off heads.
Okay, so I mean, I won't put you on the spot. You said knocking out heads. 165. Genesis Green versus
Here we
Jose
go.
Cotton.
Here we go.
Hey.
Why would you put me against her? Me and Josette is friends.
Y'all are friends, you said?
Yeah, we talk every day.
Oh, okay, damn, okay.
Oh.
Okay,
We
okay.
talk. I've
I wouldn't
actually,
put you against her though, because I definitely wouldn't put Kayla Harrison against Nunez, and they talk every day.
but yeah, it's fun that you brought her up because I want to say her next fight coming up in the next few months. I'm actually supposed to be a part of her training camp, so I will keep you updated on
Okay, so
that.
you talk to her every day. Yeah, I mean, I like
Yeah,
Josette Cotton. I thought she was hella cool. She's
yeah,
somebody that
I
I've
talk to a lot
kind
of
of
fighters.
relate to. So with Josette Cotton, I wanted to ask, do you know if she got the opportunity or if she wanted to fight in the PFL tournament? Because I know she fought in
Well,
PFL. I figured that $1 million
from what
tournament, man.
I know, from what I know, I don't think they
Okay.
contacted her, offered her
Okay.
that. I mean, we was banking on that. We was talking about it, but they didn't,
Okay.
offer her.
So she was interested in it. Yeah, that would have
Yeah,
been cool. I would have
yes,
definitely.
was
They should have
interested
her in there, man. I don't know what the hell they're
I,
thinking. She's got a
I,
winning record. She's a character. She should be in there for sure.
I know. I mean, but hopefully, like we saying, I mean, hopefully they make some more weight classes because I mean,
Think of it.
it's unpractical and unrealistic for them to think that everybody can make 145 and 135. That's small. That is so small.
It is. It is.
I'm just happy to see Sarah Kaufman win this $1 million, man. I think it's good.
Yeah, you're smoking more
You know,
dope than
I think it's a good thing because Sarah
Bro.
Kaufman been fighting for a long
you're
time.
smoking more dope than Josette Cotton's ex cellmate. Come on, bro.
Oh my god.
Come on, bro.
Motherfucker.
Come on, bro. You know she ain't winning that shit, bro. Ain't nobody winning that tournament. Cyborg better sign with motherfucking Bellator. What you talking about? This Kayla's tournament,
Well, guys,
dog.
well, listen, guys. Hey,
Oh,
I'm gonna peel up out of here, guys.
Yep,
but
it's
real
time,
talk,
man. I'm
though,
about to shut it down. Thanks for coming through.
go check out my interview with Jillian Robinson, guys. I asked her all the questions.
It's live now, yeah?
needed to be asked. Say what?
Hey, DJ, we're gonna have to interview one day.
What'd you say?
I said we're gonna have to interview one day when you get your shit together.
Well, hey, you can jump on my podcast anytime you want to. It's all I'm always active.
Compliment or
But yeah, guys, I asked her a lot of questions. I asked her a lot of questions about Valentina. So if you guys want to get the scoop on what these flyweights is thinking about Valentina, then go check that out.
This is on your channel right now.
It's on my channel right now.
No Filter MMA, everybody. Make sure you check it out. Subscribe. Check out his interviews.
Yeah, I'm finna do that next then. I'll do that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
it is.
All right, you guys. Well, thanks for coming on. That's it for the show. Thanks to everybody in the comments who came through. Incognito, Picogram, Blaze One Sports, everybody. Wrath of a Raider, Dennis Espinoza, everyone that came on the panel. Thank you guys very much.
Do I not get no final thoughts now?
No.
Oh, did you not get some? I thought
Oh, no. Racism. Racism.
I'm racist, man. No.
Yeah. Whoa. Just because I'm the darkest brother here, like this is how you're gonna treat me.
Oh no. I was saving the best for last. Like literally last. Like no, go ahead.
We're just gonna let me talk to the Hangouts logo, yeah? Talk for as long as I like. Fuck.
I want to tell everybody like goodbye and then you get to go. All right, Stan, what are your closing thoughts?
All right, my closing thoughts. First thing, shout out to the fucking the worst fucking snoozer of the entire 239, Randa Marcos Claudia Gadelha. What the fuck was that? She put up something on her Insta about how she wants a rematch. I was just like, oh hell no. Hell no. Crazy. Second thing.
But who wanted the rematch, Gadelha or Randa?
Randa.
Oh,
I'm just like, no. Like,
she's
you had an
trying to keep
opportunity to
her
do
job.
something.
That's what she's doing with that.
Yeah, but
rematch or Invicta.
Her record's always been so checkered. She'll win, and then she'll just lose, and then she'll win, then she'll lose. Always like a really good performance, then complete dog shit the following one. It's just like, whatever. Anyway, she's tapped.
I think she's 8-7 now.
Something like that.
Damn, that's a fucked up record.
8-7.
Isn't it just?
God damn, that means you got with more than you won.
Yeah.
Just like the almost Awesome Lobov kind of vibes, almost.
Yeah. But except without the GOAT status.
Next thing, speaking of goats, is it just me, or is Jon Jones adopting a somewhat more cautious fight style now?
Definitely.
Like,
of course,
even because even though he won that second Gus fight, he wasn't really winning until he was. Like, he was just kind of like just fucking around and doing stuff, and then he got the takedown, and then he went to work. But there was almost nothing before that. That Anthony Smith fight, Anthony Smith wasn't in that fight, but yet that fight should have looked like Usman versus Woodley, and it wasn't. That should have been like a complete shutout, and it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've seen the Santos thing just
Split,
now.
yeah.
Okay, Santos had one leg, so did Jon, but still.
What? Jon was not visibly on one leg in that fight at all. Not even. I didn't see the injury.
They both got carried out of there. They got wheeled out of there.
Man, you're talking about by the end of the fight, he was a little hurt.
Yeah,
I'm talking about from
legs,
the first round, visibly injured.
Jon just had a bit more of a poker face. Like, Santos' injury was way more serious.
Yeah, his ACL torn.
Yeah,
way more serious. But
Jones
his legs
hurt
were
his toe
compromised
in the 5th round.
No. Santos was able to do things to Jones's legs that no one else has done before. Not to the point where he was
I don't want to take away
on
from your
fucking
point,
deer legs.
Because
but
that was a great point you were making. Anthony Smith was not. He didn't compete against Anthony Smith as he should have, and then he goes on.
Not at all.
Smith, yeah.
He's just been really, really cagey. I just think, is this what we're getting now?
Do you think this is because there's an all-time low amount of ecograms in his system? Because if you listen to the George St. Pierre podcast,
I mean, I wouldn't draw to that conclusion.
He said it's not just bigger, stronger, faster. They make you more confident in fights. You'll throw attacks and do stuff you wouldn't normally do in a fight. So that's the only reason I say that, because he said it does help your confidence. And so if we're saying he's a little less confident, it might make sense.
Okay, maybe that's a fair point, because to be fair, he's saying all the right things in terms of like his interviews, that like, oh, it's not a title defense, it's a title offense. I want to attack the opponent, but he's not shown in his last 3 fights. And though the Gus performance was a great performance, he was very defensive, and his last 2 performances especially, they've been very like, I'm gonna try and just keep posting and like keep you away from me. But it's not like we're not seeing all these spinning techniques or like him really going for the kill. Yeah. Like after Jon Jones, we all fell in love with. Like we remember the Shogun Hua fight, the Rashad fight, where he's taking and he's putting it on these guys. Against Santos, almost like I don't want to put myself out there to get knocked out, rather than I'm gonna go for the knockout. So no, definitely sounding it's a good point. I feel like it definitely makes a good point.
That's why I asked that. So to your point, Stamina.
And to absolutely finish, just as a quick opinion poll from those that are still here, next week, are we going to see Nico Montano get her face punched off or not?
Of course.
If she makes it to the fight, then yes.
She's fighting. Who's she fighting again?
Pena.
It's a good matchup. Pena. Oh, what? Oh,
yeah,
she's
dead. She's dead in the water. Yeah.
It's finna beat the
fuck. My God, and that's on the prelims. That's a good fight. Like
I know.
Now Juliana Pena should smash her, man. It'll be interesting. She is coming off a layoff, a new mother, and we don't know what the layoff. She's came off a layoff before and looked good, so she should win that fight. But I know Nico's got a lot to prove, so it'll be interesting.
She makes it to the fight. If she makes it to the
fight. If she doesn't make it to the fight, she's so cut. She's so cut. This is like the last chance saloon for her. I don't even think they touch her. I think Invicta's the only one that would take her. I don't think Bellator would take her.
I don't think Invicta would take her. I think she would fight some
UFC champion out here with no offers.
No, but she's
no offers.
She's damaged goods. She's not reliable. That's the thing. Like it's not about whether she can fight or not. It's just that we can't trust you. We can't put money into you because you'll lose us money.
I hope she makes it to the fight. She needs to put on a respectable performance.
She has to.
Right. And even if she loses, she's got to put on a respectable performance, man. She's got to get some respect put on her name, because right now it's at an all-time low.
And she was talking shit on Valentina as well, She needs to go in there and put in a performance, man. Like, for real.
Yeah. Even that.
Okay, we agree then.
All right, guys. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on, man. Awesome talking this MMA with you guys, and
yes, sir.
We'll do it again probably next weekend. I mean, we can at least do panels, and of course, you guys know we're in the Discord every day. So if you haven't yet, it's just a chat room. That's all it is, a MMA chat room with the full-time family. Everybody you talk with here. Click the link in the description. Link in the chat. Come chop it up with us over there. With that being said,
Genesis?
Yeah, Genesis, you better hop in here. If you ain't in here yet, the hell you doing?
Yeah, for real.
Wait, let me see. How do I do it?
It's easy, man. You click the link. Boom. It's like I can't even think of it. You just clicking the link. It's in the description. Click it. You don't got to download nothing. It's just a website. You can download the app, which is a mobile app, and have it on your phone, which is even better. But you don't even have to download nothing if you don't want to. So
I just downloaded the app.
Okay.
There
yep.
you go.
So we'll see you in
even
there.
better.
and we'll be
We
in
need
there.
we need your truth, and we need some feminine energy in there. It's
Yeah,
a bit,
whenever these
it's a bit, it's a bit,
motherfuckers are in here
it's a
saying
bit
need
Holly
sausage
someone
Holm.
up in there.
We need someone to set full time straight on a
No,
regular
no.
basis.
I was just about to say,
That's
when
what we
these
need.
motherfuckers are in here saying Holly Holm's not great, we need you.
Man.
Genesis, we know Genesis is a girl of good taste. She knows what side she's gonna go on to, so it's all good. We trust her.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
FT,
I
it's
mean,
as
the
simple
thing
as
is,
this, bruv. If
I
you and Genesis are saying exactly the same thing, I'm still not listening to you.
Oh,
Facts.
damn.
Right.
Facts.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. You know, because I don't need co-signers on the truth. You know, only
Okay.
liars need co-signers. Not liars. I'll say the truth doesn't need co-signers. 'Cause I'm not
Full
gonna
time
go
is
say you're a
type.
liar.
Full time is
And-
type.
and-
I'll
and-
say the truth
and-
doesn't need co-signers.
tongue tied.
Well, it's because I don't want to call you a
Full-time is
liar, you know, but I'll say the truth doesn't need
Yeah, you
co-signers.
don't want to call me that. I'll pull up, bruv. I'll pull
Oh
up.
yeah, pull up. I know you will. He'll pull up
Ooh.
in the jet. He ain't playing. He ain't playing, Jens. He'll pull
wait,
up.
who you gonna pull up on?
He'll pull up on you. What you talking about? Stamina
Are
don't
you
play.
mad? I value my life. I will never pull up on Genesis.
Man,
Never.
I don't know.
I'm saying that
man.
with my chest. I will never ever pull up on Genesis. No way.
Okay, well, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. All right.
Play with you.
All right, Genesis, we'll see you in the Discord. We'll continue the chat over there. Thank you guys for coming on the panel. Thank you guys for listening to the show. We
Peace
are
out.
out.